Grant, I am excited.
Yeah?
I'm really excited, actually.
Why?
Because so I don't know if you know this about me, Grant, but my life kind of revolves around video games in one way or another.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird.
I learn new things about you all the time.
I know you guys think it's all about the Taco Bell appreciation, but really that's second to the video games.
Yeah, okay.
And we're right on the cusp of E3 happening, and they're just leaking shit and announcing shit, and there's like all this stuff, and it's really brought into perspective the fact that not going to E3 this year is going to be the biggest bummer ever. But welcome.
Is it because it seems like you're getting all the information ahead of time?
Maybe. I don't know. Welcome to the Rage Slate podcast. I am Jeff.
I'm Grant.
Grant, you haven't been on in a long time.
I haven't.
You haven't been able to do the podcast. So
welcome, listeners.
We've got a shitload of news stories to go over today. But before we do that, what have you been up to, Grant? I feel like I never see you. We don't ever talk. You know, it's no big deal.
I see you once a week at least.
No,
at
I was
least.
being sarcastic.
We see each other all the time.
No,
you know everything about me, the most intimate parts of me.
Oh yeah, it's
last
true.
weekend I attended ATX Television Festival for my the TV Dudes website that I run.
Okay,
and that was kind of cool. It's a 4th annual here in Austin, Texas. And
what was the coolest thing that you got to do there?
I got to see Damon Lindelof. That was the
we talked about that on Saturday. What was the second coolest thing that you got to do?
I got to chat with Justin Roiland. I saw him at a bar, and I went up to him. He's a guy who is the showrunner creator of Rick and Morty on Adult Swim.
Oh, did you love that show?
I love that show.
You love that show.
So
did you go up to him and you're like, I'm a really big fan.
Well, he was kind of holding court with a couple people. There was about like 4 other people kind of standing around him.
You have the half circle?
Yeah, and so I just kind of sidled up there, and I was like, I got to get in on this circle.
Yep.
And he was telling all sorts of like crazy intimate stories about like, he was telling a story initially about, he's like, oh man, like this my grandma was like pulling out her titties, and it was like just like something about his grandma's titties, and like
so you walk. It's one of those things where you walked up at the worst possible time
or the best,
and then I punched her right in the twat, and I said, "Grandma, I'm never coming back."
He was making some like really weird joke about like his grandma's titties, and he immediately follows it up with like, yeah, and then my grandma one day like she went out driving in the desert, and she just like got lost, and she just died out there.
What?
And he's like. And that part's actually true. That actually happened. It was like I was already laughing. I was like, "Ah, fuck! You caught me." I was laughing. Shit, sorry, it's terrible.
He trapped your ass.
Yeah. But the interesting thing was he was recommending this one game. I'm sure you've heard about it.
Okay.
The something Swan, the
Unfinished Swan.
Unfinished Swan. Yeah. He said he was playing that. And he's like, it's the most brilliant game I've ever played. I fucking love it. And he was just obsessed with it.
It's been out for a while. It was a PlayStation game, and from whatever reason, I just never got a chance to play it.
Yeah.
I think it was free last month on PlayStation Plus, and I have it downloaded. But
we should play it, I guess, because it came highly recommended by Justin Roiland.
We'll have to do it for like a Patreon video or something.
Yeah.
Like it's been out for 3 years. It's not the sort of thing that's exactly going to burn up the internet. Well, that's cool. Did you get like any insight into the next season of Rick and Morty? Or
I got to see 2 of the episodes. Actually, they did a screening. Yeah, Jason also went to this screening, but he went to the earlier time slot.
Okay,
so he and I didn't see each other. But they did this. They did like a doodle jam where he's like just drawing pictures up on the screen at the Alamo Draft House.
Mm-hmm. I saw a picture of that. Was that his grandma's titties as well?
He was drawing all sorts of crazy stuff.
Really,
he was drawing
7-year-old naked woman,
dogs with tits. He was drawing women with penises for boobs and boobs for testicles, like all sorts of stuff. It's just like dicking around, drawing all these really immature dogs.
I could run that panel.
It was awesome.
I could draw dick boobs,
and people would eat it up, man.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna start dickboob.com, where that's all we do is it's dickboob.tumblr.com. It's just pictures of people with dicks for boobs.
And they let us see 2 of the episodes. Well, like Dan Harmon was up there too,
okay,
because he's the co-creator. And so they did some little improv riffing of an episode, which was brilliant.
Yeah.
Then they showed us the 2 episodes, and they're so good.
Yeah.
The next season's going to be awesome.
Okay.
Really excited about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds great. So, yeah, I mean, you were doing that like all weekend, right?
Yeah, I got press coverage for me and Greg and Randy. They're the other 2 guys that do the show with me,
right.
the TV Dudes. And
so that was like your E3.
Yeah.
Like you had a little.
That was my E3,
little Austin E3. I mean,
we were able to get free tickets. Well, one was purchased, but we're going to cover that. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Cool.
All upgraded to press. So it was cool.
So it was a good weekend.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Cool. Well, before we jump into the news, I have a story that has to be told.
Yeah, what's new with you?
Well, normally nothing, because all I do is run this website and drink and eat various different types of fast food.
Okay.
But last week, I had an encounter that was unique. Yeah. And I'm just gonna start this story with the disclaimer that, like, it's not going where you think it's going. All right. So I don't know if a lot of people know this, but when I get time, usually Mondays we have like everything all lined up for the website, right? Like all I have to do is send out a Patreon video, post a few things. It's fine. So a lot of times on Sundays,
It's like your day off or half a day off.
yeah, there's a few things that have to get done, but I don't have to be on microphone. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
So on Sundays, a lot of times after we finish streaming, it's like I'll put up everything, I'll get everything going and ready for the next day, and then I'll just go to the bar. And sometimes people will go with me, and sometimes I'll just go just to get out of the house and read my book. I'll just go and sit at the bar and read my book. So on Sunday, I was sitting at the bar, I was reading my book, it's minding my own business, and a lady walks up to my. I was about 20 minutes away from just going like.
I know where this is going. Or I don't.
I was gonna leave. I was like, I'm hungry. I think I want to go get wings. If I stay here longer, I'm gonna get really drunk. I'm gonna leave.
Describe this lady to us.
So this lady sits down at my table, right?
Pretty good looking lady.
No. Well, she was.
She's all right. Huh?
She was a solid 4.5 out of 10, maybe. She was not. Look, she's like her great grandmother was a hard sex chud, right? But she was like, she's
2 generations removed.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, she was, she was not. God, I don't know how the fuck she would know to listen to this show, but I don't know why I'm tiptoeing around her or whatever. Like, I'm gonna get an email from the, hey, dude, you're so mean. But she came up. She was very drunk. She was moderately attractive. So she sits down and she's like, "Oh, so what are you reading?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's space lasers and aliens." I was reading this guy Marco Cluse's new book that's about space lasers and shooting aliens and stuff like that.
It's called Mein Kampf. It's a great read.
That's right. He said thought somebody else already had taken that. No. But it was weird because she sat down. She was obviously very intoxicated. She sat down. She said, "What are you reading?" I said, "This book, it's Space Lasers and Aliens." And she's like, "Okay, well, just read your book." And I was like, wait, what?
Read your book slowly and sultrily to me.
Well, no, like she sat down at my table, asked me what I was reading, and when I told her, she was just like, "Okay, well, you can go back to reading that. I'm going to sit here while you read your book." And I was like, "Well, that's rude. No, I'll talk to you. You know, whatever."
Yeah.
You came over and sat down, and with it was amazing. Within no time, like it was like from there, she was like, "Oh, aliens." I got abducted one time, and I was like, "This was not a turn that I saw coming." Right?
Go on, drunk lady.
I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
That's something that this is usually not the third thing that a person says to you." Hey, everybody, my name is Jeff. I run a website, and I've seen Bigfoot over 20 times. I'm really good friends with him.
And now no one goes to your website.
Right, exactly. But no, she was just like, "Oh, so I was abducted by aliens one time," and then proceeded to tell me her story, which was very short, basically just very short. She was laying in bed with her ex-husband, and there were lights outside, and she thought they were cop lights, but then she looked outside, and they weren't cop lights. There was nothing. That's what she kept saying. There was nothing. I said, "Were you in space?" She's like, "There was just nothing outside." Was it dark outside? No, there's just nothing. And then apparently this is the part where her story gets hazy, because then she was laying in bed, she was paralyzed, she wasn't going to say anything, and her husband was like, "Hey, do you feel that shit crawling on you?" And she was like, "Yep." And that was all I could get out of her. I was like, "Well, was there
What?
like a mothership?"
That's a story.
That's every time I pressed her for more details, she would just reiterate that thing, along with, like, she would lean back in her chair and show me how she was laying in her bed. And
Well, shit, then I've been abducted as well. I've had a very similar experience, like a little bit of sleep paralysis mixed with like crazy, what do you call it, like very visceral
hardcore
dreams.
drugs. Oh no,
Just those dreams where like you can like recall it and it gives you like kind of anxiety, panic attacks.
Yeah.
I've had those.
Yeah.
And Sure, aliens.
Yeah,
Let's chalk it up to that.
No, and and then there was the part where she did throw in the fact that she was like, nobody believes me about this, and I'm like, yeah, and she's like, just because I was on drugs doesn't mean it doesn't happen. I was like, well, because the thing is that I'm not a person to sit here and tell you that just because you're on drugs something didn't happen, but it would make me highly, highly skeptical about anything that anything said.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
It didn't happen. It didn't happen.
So, well, I'm sitting there and I'm trying to there's this. I mean, okay,
man,
it's a horrible thing because I'm like, I don't know if she came up to my thing because through the course of the conversation, she made it clear that she had a boyfriend, right? So it's like, well, you're not trying to hit on me or pick me up because you've been talking about aliens for like 45 minutes. You've been saying the exact same thing about aliens over and over
drunk
again.
And wanted to shoot the shit.
Yeah, and then it was like. So then I started asking her, well, knowing that, because you believe this, right? Like, knowing that there are aliens, does that, change the way you think about the world? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, how? And she's like, and then she would just start telling her story over it. It's just like a broken computer kind of thing, right? So it was like, do you believe in God? Do you think God made those aliens? And she's just like, and then I was in bed and I couldn't move. Like, she would always just swerve back to the description of laying in bed. And then finally I went in to get a beer and she was like, get me a beer. And the guy at the bar was like, are you getting that for that lady out there? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, I'm not giving you that beer.
She's cut off.
You can have her come
that
in
woman is batshit.
And get the beer.
I love how you were trying to rationalize with Crazy. You're like, come on, Crazy, let's go a little deeper. And she's like, I'm eating my own feces. And you're like, yeah, but could you explain to me a little? No, feces.
Well, the thing is that, I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't really believe her. On the other hand, I just kind of wanted to see, if you honestly believe this, let's find out what other crazy shit is going on, right? But then the best part, I don't think I even told, I've told you pieces of the story, but the best part came at the end, where she was emphatic. She was emphatic that now that she had told me this, that I am now going to be abducted by aliens.
What?
Because I know. She also had a lot of kind of like Alex Jones 9/11, they control every aspect of our lives and they're making us do these things.
She's
and
not
I'm
wrong. I mean, she's just wrong. She is wrong.
She is wrong.
Absolutely wrong.
I don't want to say that she's wrong, but she's wrong.
Wrong.
Really wrong. But then, yeah, she just kept telling me over and over again, well, now that I've told you you're going to be abducted. And then,
whoa, are you kind of nervous?
No, not really. I mean,
What are you going to do when you meet him?
I'm going to ask him, what the fuck? Why do you keep abducting crazy people and then sending them to talk to me? Because there was a real hard fatalist bent.
This was your messenger, that lady?
Right. There was a real hard fatalist bent to what she was saying, where she was like, I was meant to come. She was like, I could have talked to anybody in here. And I'm like, I don't know that you haven't already tried to talk to everybody in here, that they were all like, go away, drunkie. That I'm the only person who's too nice to be like, go away. I'm fucking going to go back to reading my book.
Tell me your story, lady.
Yeah. Tell me
you will be abducted in 3 days.
Yeah.
She's basically a Japanese VHS.
Yeah, no, she told me, and I haven't been abducted yet, or else maybe I have. I don't know. I mean, they could be abducting me all the time. I don't really sleep.
How's your asshole feel?
It feels pretty. The problem that I think the aliens are going to have, Grant, is everybody knows
your impenetrable hairy asshole
is
You're lucky we didn't get to wax it yet.
All
man.
of the afro coming out of my butthole.
They're trying to probe, and they're like, I can't get through this bramble.
This guy's too uptight. Can somebody get in here with a waxer already? Come on,
get the machete.
Yeah. But the problem that they would have is that they would come to my house to abduct me. I go to sleep at 7 o'clock in the morning. They'd have to be full on in the daytime sky, just hovering over my condo, for all people to see. They're just sitting up there every night, is he gonna ever fucking go to sleep?
Come on!
I know you like Kerbal Space Program. We want to take you to space and have a space adventure. But I don't.
We have an asshole to probe.
We have an asshole
here.
Why are they so concerned with the butt?
They're descendants of proctologists, I believe.
Is that what happened?
All aliens.
The first aliens were just proctologists that went up into space,
and then it got fetishized their job, and now it's just like, man, I can't help it. I just need to probe assholes of humans. I love it.
What's the name? There's got to be a name for somebody that compulsively wants to touch people's buttholes. There's got to be some kind of like copra. No, that's eating poop.
Proctophiliac?
Proctophiliac, yes. Somebody who's just like
They're a proctophiliac, I suppose.
on Craigslist all the time. Like, hey, do you need somebody to root around in your butt? Because that's what does it for me. And so, But now you just start thinking about how many proctologists are just secretly in it because
they dig it.
Yeah.
I bet none.
They had
there's probably like 2, and they're like, after I had to keep doing this for all the assholes, not just the ones I liked, it really, I'm done with it. It's not fun anymore.
They had their first physical when they were a teenager. They were just like, that is the job. That is what I want to do with my life.
It's probably just like, it's not that difficult a job.
Right.
Who's the comedian making the joke about like, you have all these like advancements in medicine, and like you can do the craziest stuff with X-rays, but with proctology, you still need a dude's finger to go 1, 2, 3 in your asshole.
Right?
What's up with it? There's been no advancements.
I need to feel around in there.
I need my finger in your asshole.
That's right. Well, good. I'm glad that we've got that out of the way.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some video game news, Grant.
Let's do it.
We've talked about my butt and butts in general on this website enough this month. I put the moratorium until next month
We'll
about
see how that goes.
anal rectum talk.
Everyone loves talking about your butt.
I know. But you know what? Nobody gives me the setup for my favorite butt-related joke of all time.
How do I give you the setup?
You just have to say the one word, and then I have the response.
Anus?
No, you. I mean, I'll say it, and then you'll know it. Where
Okay.
You say rectum, and then you say,
I barely knew him.
no. God damn. You know the joke. Don't play dumb with me.
My joke's better.
No.
Let's get to the news.
Let's get to the news. Damn near killed him. All right, so today we're recording this on, what is today? What time and space mystery? Thursday, right? Thursday, 6/11/15, right? Oculus had a press conference today, an E3 press, like a pre-E3 press conference for
really
like an hour and a half. And I didn't even know about it until we started getting ready to do this, and I was like, what? They had a fucking press conference? And I looked it up.
Are they finally done?
Yes, they are.
Oh,
yeah, that's
well,
what.
right.
That's kind of what it is. So the first thing that happened was they showed the final version of the headset.
Yeah.
It's pretty saucy. They actually went through and talked about it a lot. So there's a couple of really interesting things here.
It's so ergonomic.
Well, one is that it has it's lighter than the current one, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've done
The one that you have?
Yeah, I got a DK2, and this is the release. It's got a lot of advancements that's been made. Like you can see how like the way that the head strap looks is a lot more
Sexy?
Yeah, well, not sexy, but
it's sexy.
They put it together better. Let me see if I can get to their website. Let me just go to their website. They got some like kind of vanity pics.
So are you going to buy one?
Yes. Absolutely.
What's going to happen to your old one? Can I have it?
It's
Thank you.
no.
No, you're giving it to me. It's too late.
What? But it's worthless. It would be worthless to you. You can't use it for anything.
Oh,
I mean,
fine.
There's some porno I could recommend.
I'm going to sell it to someone.
No, dude. Hey, keep it. It's going to go in a glass case.
What?
No, but
you need to sell this stuff.
So some of the new things that they've got, right? The first big thing is they've got the embedded headphones.
That guy's got really good looking facial hair.
Yeah, that's a weird shot of it. But they've redone the inside of it. It's got like fabric around it now instead of the plastic.
Got like this nice carbon polycarbonate whatever.
Yep, they've got it set up so that there's one piece and that it fits better. One of the things they went to talk a lot about was the fact that they've redone the straps so that it's not like it's pulling against your head, that it's just sitting on your head.
Can you flip up and see out of it?
No, you can't flip up and see out of it. But there's a bigger lenses in it, so less peripheral chromatic
strain.
Yep.
Yeah.
They've redone the camera, so it's a single thing that just sits on your desk, and they said that you could just put it like behind your monitor because it's an IR camera or whatever. And so this is the back of it. It's also got a brand new thing. There's a little switch on it that'll let you adjust the IPD on it, which is the interpupillary distance, which is a big problem because not everybody's eyes are spaced out the same, and that was a little bit harder.
So it slides it like the width.
Right.
Changes the width.
Right. So
Okay.
because the thing is that you want the lenses to be dead center of your eyes. to cut down on as much peripheral vision as possible.
And I have like super lazy eye, so
yeah. You can disconnect the headphones and put on your own headphones. We'll get to the rest of this in a minute, but it looks like they've made it a little bit more modular. Yeah, it looks great. I mean, it's a real good looking thing.
Cool.
They also said that they brought out I think it was Phil Spencer from Xbox that they have an official partnership with Microsoft now, right?
So you're going to be able to play Minecraft in this and walk in the world?
I don't know about that.
Okay.
So the two things that they said is, one, they're going to be shipping an Xbox One controller with every single Oculus device because they want everybody that has one to have the same controller so that developers blah, 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 blah. They showed a very brief demo, and it was the weirdest thing where they said that, they also said that Windows 10 is going to have native Oculus support in it so that you don't have to install any drivers or anything. You just plug it in and it goes. But then they showed this really weird thing where it was a lady wearing the Oculus, and the way that they were talking about it made it sound like what they're trying to do is they're trying to make an app for either Windows 10 or for the Xbox One where you can put the Oculus Rift on and it puts you in a virtual room, and then you have like a virtual TV that your games are playing on. And in that way, like I've done that before with movies, and what it means is that you can essentially have whatever size television you want to play your games on. Is that if you want to play your games on an IMAX size screen, you could totally do that. But it was a weird thing. They showed it. It was like 5 seconds long, and it was like, okay. I mean,
that is weird.
I guess, yeah, a little bizarre. They also
Are you poor? Now you can be fake rich.
I do
in this world.
I do.
I don't know. It's kind of bizarre sounding.
Well, I mean, I can say that from, like I said, the virtual screen. Like I got a copy of Guardians in 3D. Blu-ray quality, right?
Yeah.
That I can watch on my Rift, and I can basically make that screen as big as possible. And it has 3D because of the two eyeballs, right? But in this way, you can adjust the size of your screen to whatever you want it to be, that's a cool feature. I mean, the fact that you could just use it like a monitor, right?
Sure.
They also trotted out a few developers. They trotted out a guy from CCP, which is the people that make EVE Online, to show off a demo for EVE Valkyrie, which is this shooting or flying game. Actually, you know what?
Did they fix the frame rate?
What do you mean?
Like before, it was kind of slow, so you could kind of still tell a little bit of the shutter, right?
Yeah, they call that judder. It's actually been a lot of that isn't the Oculus. It's my computer and how fast my computer can run things. And it's also because
you have a shitty computer.
It's not.
Don't you say that?
Hey, man.
That's fighting words.
I wouldn't exactly go as far as to call it shitty, but it's not top of the line. And for this, like, you want to have as fast a computer as humanly possible in order to play this stuff.
Okay.
So they have done a lot, though, about optimizing it. Let's see. I'm trying to find their conference real fast so I can show you some of this stuff. But there we go, Oculus. So they had a few different. What the most for me the most exciting part of the entire thing was the fact that they had a bunch of game developers come up and show off games. So they had this EVE Valkyrie, which is EVE Online. Do you know about EVE Online?
Yeah.
Okay. So EVE Valkyrie is like a dogfighting game that takes place in the EVE Online universe. And let me see if I can pull up a little bit of that so I can kind of go over what's going on here.
Tune in, folks, to the video version of the podcast.
Sorry. So this is, yeah, you guys, I mean, you can watch it right now. It's about an hour long, but they said that you can play this game.
We jumped to an hour in.
Yeah, that you can play this game with a controller, right? And for the most part, flight sims are really cool and work really well with the Oculus because you can look around and you can see the stuff that's around you. This particular little demo, they show a lot of like dogfighting. And this is the kind of stuff that you can watch videos of this stuff, and it's hard to actually explain how immersive it is when you're actually in it because you can see a ship fly past you and like look behind you and see where it is and stuff like that. This particular demo towards the end gets pretty hectic where they start blasting on a bunch of different stuff. Then they had that was the end of it. Then they had this guy come out and he demoed this game. What the hell was this called again? This guy was from Gunfire Games, Chronos.
Chronos.
This is a third-person action/puzzle game with a character that is in this labyrinth, and apparently it's kind of a nifty conception where every time the character dies in the course of the thing, you have to spend a year of that character's life before they can go back in. And as the character gets older, they're going to have different strengths and weaknesses, and so your goal is to kind of try to solve this labyrinth before your character dies of old age, right?
Wow.
And it looks like it's just a third person.
Are you able to like go and see things that he can't see then?
Well,
it's third person?
Yeah, well, I think that, I mean, from what I played a few games third person in the Oculus, it's difficult because it means that you can like look over here and your character's over here.
Yeah.
Or for those of you who can't see me gesturing.
He was looking in a different direction than
right. You look away, your character is still where you had him. But it's incredibly immersive. And one of the other things that they announced was this game called Air Mech, where it's like a top-down, kind of like a StarCraft-y looking type of game.
Yeah.
And there's a game called Blaze Rush Racing that I've played. I showed you the demo for that. And those kind of games where you're looking down like it's all a miniature, right?
Yeah.
Are really effective in the Rift because it's
like
you're just
pretty neat.
a giant, right? You can kind of look around. I'm kind of hoping that's what it is. But then the third one that I thought was actually really exciting was Insomniac, the guys who make Ratchet and Clank, came out, and they had this game called Edge of Nowhere. And it looks like it's like an Arctic like survival kind of
another
game.
third person?
Yeah, another third-person game. But what's interesting is that this game has like a Cthulhu kind of edge to it. In the trailer you'll see like monsters and some giant stuff around and tentacles and stuff. It looks really nifty. Like you can see the guys got the Cthulhu over there.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it looks really cool, and they've been designing it from the ground up. All this stuff is great because the thing the Oculus needs more than anything is games you can play from start to finish made by real-life developers that are totally
and they got at least 3.
They got at least 3. Actually, they got more than that because
okay.
They talked about there's going to be this VR sports challenge, which is like it's your typical sports like hockey and that kind of stuff. Lucky's Tale is a game about a fox that's kind of a nifty adventure. They get the Air Mech VR. They also have a big screen where they've showed a bunch of other people that are working on stuff. Square Enix is in there. Harmonix is in there. There's a bunch of high voltage software. I think that they've done a few other things. Some of these guys I don't really recognize. But the point of the whole thing is that like this shit, when it comes out next year, is going to be a thing. And that's really exciting. I don't know if they've got the...
I mean, that's huge.
Sizzle trailer here for a bunch of other games that are going. They also announced that they're pumping $10 million worth of funding into indie games that are being developed specifically for the Oculus Rift to kind of try to kickstart
they must
development
have
for
some I guess they have Microsoft money.
Old Zuck. No, they got bought by Facebook last year. Remember that was a big thing. Was fucking Zuckerberg went out and bought Oculus. Yeah,
they got financial backing. Okay,
they've got some serious financial backing.
This is seriously happening.
Also, it wouldn't surprise
Wave of
me.
The future.
It would not surprise me one bit if Microsoft develops that relationship with them because Sony has their own VR headset that they're making. It wouldn't surprise me if Microsoft was going to try to make this the one that's compatible with their Xbox One. So. Then let's see. Last but not least,
didn't Microsoft also have that like HoloLens thing?
Yeah, we talked about the HoloLens.
Yeah,
I think
does this compete with that?
I don't think so. They also announced that they're going to have a store that you can buy stuff, and it's basically like their store where you can buy games and you can connect with other people. But then the last big announcement that they had was that they've got a new controller. And
I thought they already have the Xbox controller.
They do have the Xbox controller, and they said that they're working with that, but then they're also developing this thing called the Oculus Touch. And the Oculus Touch is a new set of controllers that they're dealing with specifically for next generation, for kind of what they would like to envision happening after traditional gaming, right? So the way that this thing works is it looks like if you took an Xbox controller and you hacked it in two, and then you put like a little ring around it. And so it's got a few features. It's both sides of it have a trigger button, an analog stick, 2 buttons, and then they also have a fourth button that basically is underneath your index finger.
For your middle finger as it's curled around the handle.
But what they're specifically talking about using that for is like if you're in a game world and you reach and you pick something up, like they specifically talk about the idea of having a gun, right? So you reach your hand out because this thing has these little dots on it that are the tracking for the sensor that the Oculus uses, reaching out with your hand, picking something up, and then using the trigger button as a trigger for a gun, right?
Cool.
Pointing it and shooting it, yeah, and then using like say the analog stick to move your character around.
Dude, this is
And then-
badass.
I know.
How much are these things going to sell for?
I don't have any idea. They're still prototyping them, apparently.
Fuck.
But then the other thing that you haven't even noticed here is that the reason that this thing has this ring on it is that it's also able to...
I imagine it's interacting with it, right?
the Oculus can track it, but it's also got sensors in it that can recognize like thumbs up, point, and a few other hand gestures so that your character... Like they have a demo for it that they're
Middle
showing.
finger.
Right.
Can you flick off someone?
Go
enemies.
fuck yourself, right?
Fuck you, enemies.
That's right. To the point where if you were in a multiplayer game, you could point. They said they have a whole thing called the playroom or a play test or something where
All right.
can basically like poke stuff and use your thumb and your forefinger to like manipulate stuff, and it can track that using these controllers. So
cool.
this stuff is all incredible, and I think that it looks fantastic. And it's one of the main reasons now that I'm pissed that I'm not going to E3 because they've got a whole booth full of all this bullshit.
Oh, yeah, and if you were pressed, you could
Yeah.
go and rub elbows and really try stuff.
Shoved to the head of the line. So yeah, that was the Oculus conference, and now we're halfway through our first part. I'm trying real hard not to keep Grant like super late tonight. But yeah, all this is incredible, and I love it because this is like professional shit, right? This is not a Kickstarter. This is not some kind of indie dev. This is like Insomniac Games is the same people who make Ratchet and Clank.
I mean, this thing started as Kickstarter, right?
yes.
And now look how far it's come. This is like a legit badass like venture.
Yep. And
It would have been great if Kickstarter funders could have also been early investors.
yeah.
I feel like
What do you
that's
mean?
kind of what should have. I mean, like you get stock in this.
That was a real big question when they got bought by Facebook, because the thing is that they were very
Like
clear.
these other people made you kind of thing.
Well, they were very clear. All of the initial investors at a certain level, right, got the Oculus DK1 headset. But then when they developed, what came from that was developing the DK2 headset, and none of the original people got one of those for free, right?
See that? I mean, that's kind of where it's like a little bit. I mean, if something like that, you really get these people to kind of buy into your thing, they should somehow maintain a small percentage ownership.
You know, it's something that we talked about when it happened. I just worry that it's like, because you know what? None of, like a large group of the Kickstarters did not like the fact that Oculus got bought by Facebook.
They would have if they all saw the zeros on a paycheck because they had a 0.25 in like investment in the project.
Maybe. I don't know. I worry a lot about, I think crowdsourcing is a great idea. I don't like the idea of development by committee. And I especially in this case, the way that some of the people on the internet were talking about Oculus, like they've just sold their souls, and I would never blah blah blah. But like,
Sure, but I think you could be a party who has stock, but you don't have any voice
okay,
in the financial decision. I mean, it's just when you kind of see something like this that takes off, it would just kind of be nicer if something like Kickstarter had that option.
yeah,
I guess.
no,
in
I
my
understand.
opinion.
It's that's a really complicated, topic.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
But that's not really what we're discussing. Anyway,
no.
What's
bunch
our
of
next
cool
story?
shit. Bunch of cool shit. All right, next up, Naughty Dog is fucking us, Grant.
they're bending us over. You're a
they're-
naughty dog.
They're naughty,
What are
bad,
they
bad
doing?
dog. Okay, so you remember how you and I were playing The Last of Us, and how then they came out with like a remastered PS4 version of The
Right,
Last
it's
of
like
Us?
we're halfway through.
Right, as we were halfway through it. Well, now they're putting out a remastered PS4 version of Uncharted 1, 2, and 3.
Of course they are. And this is bullshit
Yeah.
because they're about to come out with a fourth game. This is just such a George Lucas money grab kind of thing. We're going to have another movie, so we're going to release a whole new pack right before it, and that movie's not going to be included so that we can release this other pack later.
So you're saying that all of the terrorists in the Uncharted series are going to be replaced by Ewoks with walkie-talkies? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, yeah, by the way, we also made it Ewoks with walkie-talkies.
Nathan Drake versus Jar Jar.
That's right. Dude, I would
You get to
Jar Jar.
shoot a whole bunch of Jar Jars. That'd be kind of awesome.
Yeah, I think I could deal with that. But no, I mean, I think this is inevitable, and I think that when they announced the last one, I kind of thought it's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
Because they did all the work, like with The Last of Us, to learn how to upgrade their engine to the PS4. Why not just go back and do it again?
Yeah.
Put this thing out for $40 and let everybody, subsidize Uncharted 4.
This is why we shouldn't play anything until we get the good versions.
Yeah, I'm. You know what? Last week we were talking about that, and I'm like kind of pissed with Batman with the amount of pre-order and DLC and bullshit. It's like I wish that I could just wait a year and get the one box that has everything and all the DLC added into it.
But you can't, Jeff. This is your job.
I know.
What's our next story?
All right, next up, a personal favorite.
Oh, Jesus. You can't go an episode without talking about him. All right.
I didn't do it. All right. It wasn't me. It was the internet.
You're pulling strings. You're making things happen.
You think I have that kind of power?
Maybe.
You think I'm behind the scenes?
Your dark magic.
Yeah. Dark Souls 3 is probably, most likely, almost certainly a thing. Last week, let's see. Last week, right after we recorded the podcast, I think that it's actually there's a YouTube channel called The Know, and I think that they're actually staffed with some Rooster Teeth people.
Is that N-O or K-N-O-W?
K-N-O-W.
Ah.
They did a whole thing where they were basically showing these Dark Souls 3 screenshots and
That
talking about
Korean
details.
letters over it.
Like the thing is that unless they're like hardcore making shit up, they have a lot of information, it seems. That's Dark Souls 2, but they had a bunch of screenshots, and unless they just doctored a shitload of screenshots and then just straight up made up a whole bunch of bullshit, it seems pretty severe.
Not likely. These guys are in the know.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that they actually
Literally.
had a story about Microsoft buying Silent Hill that turned out to just be completely garbage. But the thing is that there's all these screenshots, and if these screenshots are, I mean, I know what Dark Souls looks like.
There's
And
a bunch of fans out in the world that could bullshit this stuff.
They
too,
could. They definitely could. It would be a monumental task, though. And if they were going to do that, I would expect to see like 3 screenshots, not like a dozen screenshots.
Sure.
But there's some really interesting information about this. I mean, from all everything that I've seen, it looks like actually somebody else sent me a website that was like, I've got an insider who tells me that Miyazaki is going to come back. The guy that did Bloodborne and Dark Souls 1 is going to come back to do Dark Souls 3.
House Moving Castle.
Howl's Moving Castle, right?
Cool.
Porco Rosso.
Very prolific, that guy.
But I'm looking forward to it because he was gone for Dark Souls 2, and I didn't feel like Dark Souls 2 was quite as strong as Dark Souls 1. So I'll be happy if he's back. I'm happy to go back to Dark Souls and play some of that.
Who are these video game bros?
This is
With their manicured facial hair.
This is the No. I think that guy's a Rooster Teeth guy, man. I don't know.
Is that Mr. Rooster?
That's Mr. Rooster. But yeah, some of the information that came out was that there's going to be probably a few more. They said 60 minutes worth of cutscenes, which seems like more than normal. There's some possibility that you might be able to move bodies around and sacrifice them to get in other people's games. There might be reputation for that. There's there's some speculation about being able to equip certain types of moves that you can do at the touch of a button, which is kind of interesting. This is interesting. This is a screenshot of a boss battle, and then the same boss battle with a different beast that you're fighting. But I look at these screenshots, and they so look like the art style of Dark Souls that it's hard for me to. I mean, I guess I guess at the end of the day, people can fake it, right? But it just seems like if they are faking it, somebody went to an awful lot of work to fake
Look at all
it.
those ghosts. Anyway, cool.
Yeah. So hopefully at E3, starting tomorrow, we'll be getting an announcement from one of the conferences that Dark Souls 3
Tomorrow,
is
as of us recording.
tomorrow as of when this podcast comes out. So, but yeah, I'm very excited, Grant, and now
Yeah.
you guys can listen to me talk about Dark Souls 3 for a year.
Yay!
And if a possible release date, there was also a leak of a possible promotional image that says Dark Souls 3 early 2016. So it looks like the early 2016 is going to be a hell of a time.
All these leaks are fucking these people, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's bad this year because we are going directly from there. Oh well, this wasn't a leak. So did you ever play Shadow Warrior, Grant? I think that was like one of the second or third games that you and I played.
I feel like I did play that.
Where the guy's listening to the touch.
He's driving in his Ferrari to this place and then like just eviscerating all these bodies.
Yeah, and then like a
these
bunch
people like stabbed up into trees and shit.
Yep, bunch of demons come out. And,
I remember this.
Yep. All right. Shadow Warrior 2 is a thing, and it's happening, and I'm so glad because Shadow Warrior 1 made it on my like top 10 list the year it came out because
really? Okay.
like it was so surprisingly good. But yeah, there's a trailer over. It looks like Flying Hog is doing it. It's the guys who did the first one, and Devolver is publishing it, and it's being developed. I think the only thing out of the trailer, it's mostly a pre-rendered trailer. The only things that I can see that I hadn't seen before was that there's going to be 4-player co-op, so you can bring in your friends to help you play the game if you want to. And Lo Wang is back. So,
cool.
I don't know really what else to say.
Sorry, you were playing the trailer and I got a little captivated watching it.
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
He just sliced. That doesn't make any sense.
Yep. No, it's a great trailer. Lo Wang is a great character. Let's see if there's a release date on this. I'm sure it's early 2016, like everything else is. But 4-player co-op and a bunch of new stuff. And
Same Wang.
That's about it. But I'm super psyched about this.
Cool.
I think more people need to play Shadow Warrior because it was a real fun game. Next up, we've got there's some details about Halo 5. I'm not going to go into this like too deeply because I don't know enough about Halo. And last week, people got real pissy with me about when I didn't know about Fallout. So
Jeffrey, why don't you know all the details about Fallout?
Right. But Halo 5 is apparently going to have Halo 5 Guardians is apparently going to have 4-player co-op, and those 4 players are these Spartans that Master Chief knows, and they're showing back up again.
Oh, there's female ones.
Yeah,
Take that, Assassin's Creed.
there's been some female ones in previous games, but
I know that, maybe.
I don't know enough about the lore of Halo. I'm sure somebody.
They all look pretty cool. I like the uniforms.
Yeah, no, they've all got really good armor. It looks pretty spiffy. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't know quite as much about this particular group. I mean, I think these guys are featured in like a book or maybe one of the other games that I haven't played or something like that.
Okay.
But it seems interesting. They look good. I mean, I'm looking forward to Halo 5. It seems like we haven't heard very much about it since it was originally released. But enough of that. We are now moving directly into our block of trailers. Oh, my God.
It's trailer time.
It's trailer time. All right. Our first trailer is there's going to be a new... These are, of course, in no particular order. New Ratchet & Clank game for the PS4 that's going to tie in to the Ratchet & Clank movie. And
I thought you said this was like a reboot of the game.
it is, I think. I think it's a reboot of the first Ratchet & Clank.
Okay.
But because I think it's going to tie into the movie, which I don't know, maybe a reboot. I don't remember the original Ratchet & Clank. I played a bunch of them. But, oh boy, this looks pretty. I mean,
I don't know what it is, but I don't find this series appealing.
really?
Yeah. You always talk about it with such affection, and every time I look at it, I'm like, I don't know.
Have you ever just sat down and played one like
I
start
played
to
a
finish?
little bit with you. We did one of the versions that came out recently, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was all right, but I don't like the look of the character.
Okay.
He's like a little bit too cutesy.
Is this going into your kind of
my weird cutesy animal thing? I don't like him.
Yeah, you seem to have an aversion to anything that's even slightly cutesy.
Cutesy animals, and then it seems like it's a great game if I was 12.
Uh-huh.
I'm not.
I guess what I'm saying is that
I'm a man.
Okay. You know what? You just got finished at the beginning of this show talking about how excited you were to meet the creator of Rick and Morty and see 2.
That is a man's cartoon.
That is a man's cartoon.
Have you seen it?
I have not. Because
It's
I'm an adult and I play Ratchet and Clank and I don't watch fucking kiddie cartoons.
It's a man's cartoon.
It's
where the grandpa buys his grandson a sex robot.
Uh-huh.
The grandson ends up impregnating the sex robot with a kid.
Okay.
And he has to try and figure out how to be a father while the kid rapidly develops over time. And
Okay.
They have this whole scene where he's like fucking a robot and he's a little adolescent kid. It's an adult cartoon.
You know, I think the thing is that you keep telling me about Rick and Morty, and it sounds like it should be right up my alley, and I should totally be watching it. But I'm going to let you know a little secret, Grant. I got burned on Adventure Time, okay? Because I don't dislike Adventure Time, but every fucking person I know will not shut up about how great Adventure Time is. And I watched the first 6 episodes of Adventure Time and was like, well,
that's your problem.
This is a little weird and whatever, right? Like, I didn't expect an Adventure Time.
I mean, it starts off really. The thing I did with Adventure Time was I got a best of DVD someone lent me.
Yeah.
And I went kind of through those, and it cycles in, and all of a sudden, you get a good grouping of some of their later season stuff, and it really sells you on it. But those first few episodes, I went back and watched those later, and I was like, yeah, this wouldn't have sold me on the show.
I watched about 6 to 10 episodes and was like,
the first season, it was more like it was quirky, but it didn't really have the fun mythology and all that to it.
You know,
that makes it just so great.
I don't want to. We got a lot more news. I don't want to get too far out of a tangent.
It's like season
here.
1 of Parks and Rec you watched. That's a problem.
Yeah, but season 1 of Parks and Rec at least had the good taste to be 4 episodes long, and then they really fucking kicked it up a notch.
Just piss off. Yeah.
Right.
We'll fix everything. Okay?
Yeah.
Season 2.
Like, okay, I'm okay. I'm getting real. And you're a TV dude, so maybe I'm getting real tired of TV shows
needing time to
not 3 episodes, a season, like 25 episodes that you just have to plow through because they're going to reference that season for the rest of the series.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
And like,
I can't get into so many shows that people are like, "Oh, you gotta watch it," but like Supernatural, I'm like, I can't do Supernatural. Like, it gets good, bro. I'm like,
I just
to get that good.
Well, but here's the thing: is that what the fuck, man? Like, they're not writing these episodes out like an hour and a half before they start the show. They should have the whole first season plotted out, and it would be one thing if we were just starting here, but how many goddamn shows, how many goddamn series have a bad first or have a slow first season?
It's that whole thing of like, so many shows should write out their season and then trash the first 3 or 4 episodes,
right,
and then just start from there.
I tell you what, Netflix. I mean, like, House of Cards season 1, fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Daredevil full season, fucking fantastic. Orange is the New Black, I didn't even know if I was going to like it. I started watching, I was just like, this is fantastic, right? Like, I did not have to...
Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt?
Yeah, I don't have to deal with a whole goddamn season. I mean, yeah, look at 30 Rock. 30 Rock's first season is eminently watchable. It's totally watchable.
That's one of those things where you kind of live and die by the format. Like, binge watching is great for some shows, and it's kind of terrible for some others, but I think like the weekly format kills a lot of shows because it's like, some of them, if you can't just binge through until it gets good, you're just like, I'm not going to tune in next week.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess the problem that I'm having is I've seen plenty of TV shows that didn't need a full season to get going, and I almost feel like that's become a thing that a lot of content creators feel like they don't. Like, they can kind of just ease into it. Like, they don't have to hit the ground running. They don't have to make sure that every single episode is going to have you just like, oh, I need more. I got to get more of this, right?
A lot of the difficulty, I think, stems from you're also casting all of these actors to play these parts. They all have to kind of get used to the role. Then you have to learn to write specifically to that actor and kind of tailor it and figure out where the creator and the other parties involved all start meshing together and it starts harmonizing, and that's not easy to do for so many shows, and it's actually more of a rarity that you get everything just gelling on the first episode.
Yeah, I know. I guess I'm just like, I'd love to watch Arrow, but I'm fucking just not willing to deal with something where people who like the show are like, season 1 kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, can I just start with season 2? And they're like, no, you really need to watch all 600 episodes of...
Can I just read the Wikipedia and jump into season 2?
No, you can't. You won't know what's going... And it's like, well, then fuck your TV show, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. We got too much to get through from.
All right, let's go.
Here.
What's the next
All
one?
Next up, on the PS4, there's a game called Adrift. That's about floating around in space, and apparently you're
This
lost in
looks
space.
cool, man. It looks like Gravity,
Yeah.
where you're just kind of floating around.
Yep. And then they in the trailer, this guy's floating or lady, I'm not sure, is floating around, and then turns, and there's all this space debris and shit coming at him, and
It's like, is it like kind of survival in space?
yeah, that's the impression that I get. Is it's got? I think there was a trailer last year that was actually very similar to this, where it was like there was just debris, and they were knocking stuff out of the way of the debris, and then they ended up flying through it. I would love it, and I don't know if this is the case, but this is the sort of game that would be perfect for
Oculus.
the Morpheus, the PS4 version of the Oculus, the Project Morpheus, especially because PlayStation already has like the PlayStation camera, if they could do like hand tracking and stuff, because it looks like just a game. If you had to actually put your hands out to deflect debris when it's coming at you, that would be really interesting. So.
Yeah.
I think this looks absolutely incredible. It looks very interesting, very kind of cinematic.
I mean, that scene though, it's straight out of Gravity. It looks like.
Yeah. Oh no. Okay. So this is PS4, Xbox One, and Steam.
September 2015.
Yep. So we'll get to see, which means it's probably not going to be an Oculus. Well, not default Oculus game.
Oh well.
But it looks good. I mean,
Yeah.
it looks real tight. Next up, Lego Marvel's The Avengers.
Yeah.
Is this one tapping your cutesy
It is.
buttons?
I don't know. It's just like I don't really care for these anymore. I think the novelty wore off on me.
Of just the Lego games in general?
Yeah.
They put out a lot of them. They seem to put out an awful lot of
And
them.
they don't have to do much creative stuff on their own because they're just scene for scene taking stuff from the movie.
Some
And like, oh, we'll do it with Legos.
some are. I mean, like the DC universe has its own storyline, and but yeah, I think the interesting thing about this is that if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that Jason and I actually played DC or Lego Marvel Superheroes. That was just kind of an open-ended Lego game with its own story, kind of like Lego DC is.
Yeah.
This is Lego The Avengers, and like the trailer is all the big battle action scene from the first Avengers movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of wonder what else they're going to do. Maybe Avengers 1 and Avengers 2 are both going to be in this because there's a little thing of Ultron at the very end of it.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll add some Lego Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Lego Marvel Daredevil, or I don't know. Like, actually, you know what?
Daredevil would be cool too.
No, you know what would be really interesting is if we're seeing this as one of the battles. But if you think about it, if they've got the cinematic universe license, right, they could make Lego The Avengers that starts with Iron Man 1 and then goes to Iron Man 2 and then goes to Captain America and then goes to Thor and then goes to the
They
Avengers.
could do all of Phase 1.
Right. They could do the entirety of Phase 1 and have the Avengers battle be the end of the first one.
That'd be kind of cool.
That'd be a really interesting experience, actually.
That'd be a lot neater.
Playing them all back to back. I don't
We'll
know
see,
that
though.
for sure, but
Yeah.
we're playing. So you're lucky because Brian Salisbury and I are playing Lego Jurassic Park this week.
Oh,
So
good.
you have to be part of
You
that.
guys can do that.
You got to play D4. That
Fuck
was
yeah.
You got to get in with the
That
D.
wonkiness.
Get the D, Grant.
People want us to continue with the D.
They want the D. They're into the D. That's what they're into.
Ragies love the D.
All right, next up on the trailer hit parade, Wargaming.net, who I believe is known for World of Tanks, if I'm not mistaken, is bringing back Master of Orion, which you said you've never played, right?
No, doesn't look familiar to me.
It's it's funny because they have this trailer for Master of Orion, and it's like super action packed. They got these like ships chasing this guy through a fucking episode 2 like Starfield and shit's all over the place. This is like this is a 4X game, which is what Explore, Exterminate, something Excelsior. I don't know, but basically these are like universe-spanning empire games where you start with a planet and you build a fleet and then you colonize a new planet.
Okay.
And you basically are trying to create a whole empire in space.
That sounds a lot more interesting than this trailer to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like another generic space game.
Oh, well, if you don't have any real connection to the name, then yeah, it would probably just look like whatever.
But what you're describing sounds a lot cooler. Yeah.
Well, this was also, I mean, original Master of Orion was like a DOS game back in the day.
I also really like the logo. It's a spiffy looking logo.
Yeah. What glowing endorsement from Grant Davis. Master of Orion. I like the logo.
I like the logo game.
The game, I could take it, I could leave it, but the logo,
I'd probably leave it.
Hey, you know what? The logo does it for me. All right, next up on the hit parade. I'm going to make you play the shit out of this game, Grant.
No!
I'm going to make you play the shit out of this
Jesus,
game.
like the one game I thought was like the most boring bullshit is the game you're gonna make me play. Of course it is.
Oh man, I knew when I watched this trailer. I was watching it before you came over here, and I was like, "Oh, this is one for." I've been very good to you in the JRPG. We've had a dry spell of video games.
Oh,
recently.
thank you, sir. You're so kind. Okay, so explain this game.
Okay, this is called. What is this thing called again?
Figureheads.
Figureheads. Yeah. Square Enix is making this game, and it's a free-to-play PC, like 5-on-5 competitive
Mech warrior battle in the city.
Yeah,
kind of
it's
thing.
mechs, but it's like a third-person cover-based mech game. There's some kind of strategery going on there where you can like give your group.
What the fuck is the thing where they have the anime girls and you can change their outfits then? What is that doing in this game?
I'm assuming that if you listen to the music, which everybody should listen to the dumbass song that's in this trailer because it's really, really, it's one of those just like really terrible J-pop numbers. It's not that bad, but what I'm assuming is that every one of these mechs is piloted by a little anime schoolgirl that you get to customize. And
it doesn't make sense. Why does Square Enix always do this? They mix like two different like visual styles and genres together and like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put Goofy with an anime kid and some Kingdom Hearts bullshit.
You're still not over that.
I hate Square Enix now.
Really?
I hate them.
You just
I am so uninterested in their bullshit. And no, I don't want to play this, Jeff. Don't make me.
We got to play Figureheads. Great. Actually, there's no even evidence at the moment that this is even coming to North America.
It's not even a real game. This is just some trailer that's meant to troll me.
I had the fans create a trailer just to, and I had Game Informer run a news story that
You went all out for this.
Yeah,
prank.
I spent all of the money that we raised to make
Good thing I didn't lose my cool.
That's right. Hey, guess what? That Hyrule Warriors is coming to the Nintendo 3DS.
Oh, okay.
I think it's
story.
got like there's two characters from Legend of Zelda Wind Waker that are being put in there. There's one thing when I watched the trailer for this. There's one thing that was a little weird to me. I don't know if you can see this, Grant. You can maybe back me up, right? But in the place where you can see the actual game being played, it looks like they've done this thing where there's like some hard like black lines around the edges, kind of cell shaded. They did that same thing with Smash Brothers, and the thing is that I don't like that look. It looks just
Maybe they have to like because it looked like everything was kind of muddled and blending together. So they're like, well, with this smaller screen and the resolution, we just need to put some black line on it.
maybe I don't know. I don't generally dig that. I don't dig that. So
Yeah, well, the game, whatever.
you had fun playing that game.
Did I?
You had fun playing that game. Remember, I was
I feel
playing.
I'm still worked up from the Square Enix. I just want to bitch about everything now.
You remember one of us was playing on the Wii U gamepad and one of us was playing on the TV, and I was like, "Come to the thing, kill those guys!"
yeah.
I was getting like a 600 hit combo, and you were like,
It was
"How are
fun
you
playing
doing
it
that?"
with you. I don't think I would enjoy it on my own.
I played it on my own. And it was all right. Okay, next up, EA has confirmed that the name of the next game from Mirror's Edge is Mirror's Edge Catalyst. Some
That's
people,
a cool sounding name.
yeah, some people dug up information on it. There's some information here that it may be a prequel to the previous Mirror's Edge. I think it's Mirror's Edge came out a while back. Like
Mirror's Edge Catalyst sounds so much better than Fear the Walking Dead.
is that the name of a game?
That's the next Walking Dead TV spinoff.
They're spinning off The Walking Dead into another show.
Hell yeah! It makes so much money for the AMC.
Does it?
Of course
still?
they're gonna.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't.
That show has more viewers than I think like a lot of the biggest
Than
shows
us?
on network TV.
Than we do?
No, not more than us.
Oh,
we're,
okay.
We're fucking killing it, PewDiePie. Go fuck yourself. We have the traffic.
You tried for about 2 months to start some beef with other YouTubers, I think. and
Hey,
it's
I
just
guess
like,
I want you guys to tell PewDiePie that we're in a battle with him.
That we're what?
We're in a battle with him. We're calling him out to a dance battle.
No, we don't want to do that.
We're gonna dance battle him.
His fans are fucking crazy. They will come to my house. They will abduct me. They will probe my anus. They will listen to this podcast.
And then they'll learn to love us.
Oh, goddamn.
They'll probe your anus and learn to love us. They'll be like,
goddamn.
hey, there's a lot I love in here. All right. Are we done with these news stories?
Nope. Still got a
Shit.
few left. Boom.
This
Actually,
is
wait, hold
huge.
on.
Is that Brushwood?
I might have actually read this wrong. Oh, no. Mirror's Edge Catalyst, yep. Who's planned for this fiscal year. I actually cut about 8 stories from the stories that we're looking at right now.
Oh, Jesus.
But let's just roll through here real fast.
All right.
Next up is a couple of pieces of news about who's not going to be at E3 this year.
Brian Brushwood.
Brian Brushwood. No, that's
not Brian Brushwood.
That's Quantum Break from Remedy, the guys that made Alan Wake and Max Payne 1 and 2. Their new game is not going to be at E3 this year. They're delaying it, and they're going to be showing it at Gamescom. The same is true for both Crackdown, which is a real shame. I know Aaron's not going to be happy about that, and Scalebound, both games that were announced at the Microsoft press conference last year.
I don't even know about these.
Yep, I know you don't, but this is mostly just informative.
This isn't for you, Grant. It's
Right.
for the listeners.
It's not for you. All right, and right before we get done, 2 more stories. One, it appears that Mark Cerny, the development head over at PlayStation, I believe is his official title. Let's see. PlayStation 4 lead architect Mark Cerny is apparently now involved with The Last Guardian. I think you're a little too new to this to know The Last Guardian. Last Guardian is the game from the next game from the people who made Shadow of the Colossus and Ico.
Okay.
Okay. It was announced in 2009, and it hasn't been an E3.
Vaporware.
Yeah. It was then moved, I think, from the PS3 to the PS4 once it became clear it wasn't going to come out on the PS3. And everybody's like, there's a nice argument to be had with people about, is it coming out? No, it's not coming out. Oh, it's totally coming out because Sony won't let the trademark die for it. They keep pushing it, right?
Interesting.
But yeah, there's a rumor here that Cerny's going to get in there and get some shit done. And last, but certainly not least, and this has nothing to do with E3 or video games or whatever, pour one out for Christopher Lee because he ain't around no mas.
That guy was a badass.
He was a badass. I mean, my favorite thing I ever saw from Christopher Lee was the thing on Lord of the Rings, right? Did you see him where...
Oh, how he told him that, like...
That's not what a guy sounds like when he gets stabbed.
When you stab him, they don't make a sound.
Right.
Because I've killed people
It's
before.
more this kind of sound. Because, yeah, he was SAS, right?
Yeah.
And he did death metal and did Lord of the Rings and just fucking Dracula. Like, holy shit, Christopher Lee.
Count Dooku?
Yeah. Count.
He was in the prequels. Never forget.
He was in Star
He was like
Wars.
one of the few good things about the prequels.
He was good. I like him in the prequels. Because, okay, this is something, I don't know if a lot of people realize this, but there's a scene in episode 2, right, where Obi-Wan gets trapped, right, and he's hooked up to that fucking, like, ball or whatever,
Yeah.
and Count Dooku comes in, and he tells him all these things, and he's like, oh, my friend, I'm so sorry, this is such a big mistake, and he's like, but you got to know, and what he proceeds to tell him is the truth. He's like, the Senate has been infiltrated by the Sith, and like the Jedi are being used as puppets, and Obi-Wan's like, you're evil, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
And fucking Dooku's telling him the God's honest truth.
Yeah.
It's actually a pretty cool scene when you think about it, but not a lot of people do. So pour one out this weekend, or this week, or whatever, for good old Christopher Lee, because he was a badass. So, and with that, we're going to go ahead, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to answer your emails. Damn, son, we made it in an hour. That's my target goal for our first part. I think we just whipped through half of those stories. We even got a little TV talk in there. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to answer your lovely, wonderful, beautiful questions. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. All right, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Rage Select Podcast. And Grant, it's time for the question.
It's email time.
Email.
Hold up, Jeff.
What's that?
Hold up.
What's
Before
up?
we get into the email, hey, lovely listeners,
Yeah.
go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating and review.
Okay.
Do it.
Yeah.
It helps out the show.
Yeah, what are you afraid of?
We want to
What are
get
you, chicken?
we want to get big and mighty.
That's right.
And it's a good free way to help out the show you love.
I don't know why I'm trying to. I don't know why I'm using the Marty McFly.
Yeah, did you just call me a chicken and then balk at me?
No, I called the listeners a chicken.
Oh, okay.
Like for not. what are you afraid of? Just go to iTunes, leave us a review. And
I was about to have to start to fight you.
Yeah, throw a review at it. So, welcome back. Mail at rageselect.com is the email address. And our first question comes in from Tom. And Tom says, to Jeff and Grant, thank you for reading my question last week. I was very stoked. Blessed be the mighty dong. My question, a serious one. How does one propose to the girl he intends to spend the rest of his life with?
Why are you reading this like Jerry Seinfeld?
Am I? I don't know. His voice has happened. My question.
A serious one.
It's a serious question. What's the deal with proposing? We've been together for the last 5 years, have known each other, and been great friends 3 years prior to dating. Initially, I was thinking about taking her to Japan. Then I calculated the cost, and fuck a bunch of that. I don't think a finger in the butt whilst looking right at her intensely would work. What are your thoughts? Should I go romantic? Cheers and take care, Tom. P.S. Could I fly Grant over to the UK to serenade her as I get down on one knee? We love you, Grant.
Aw, that's awesome.
That's the royal we, I think. This is Prince Thomas, right?
The entire country loves me.
That's right. Yeah, all of the UK.
They like it when I talk in their accent.
Like you could say to people now, you could be like,
terrible.
I'm a big deal in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, you don't know, but I'm UK famous.
That's right. You see the checks I get from the Queen every month.
Yeah, I have to.
She's on my Patreon.
I have to exchange it though, and it's like a weird thing.
Yep. Well, so
how to propose?
Yeah, the finger in the butt. That's Jason's advice for everything. Is just put your finger in her butt and then look her right.
I didn't know what that meant. I was like, what?
Yeah. No, that's exactly what Jason would say.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know how to get a date, so I'm probably not the person to ask. Grant, you're already married, though. Like, you could,
yeah.
I mean, plans and schemes and.
Well, with my wife, Say
I like Borat.
It was time 5.
There you go. Thank you.
I met her at this. I met her at the park.
Okay.
Before we even started dating, this park that was close to my parents' house.
Okay.
And then when we started dating, coincidentally, our first kiss was at that same park.
Damn.
And so a couple years later, when I ended up actually proposing to her, it was Christmas Eve, so we were back in town visiting our folks. Both our parents actually lived in the same town, pretty close to each other. But we didn't know each other in high school. I'm rambling. Anyway,
you seem really nervous. Are you like channeling? And then
I convinced her to go over to that same park on a bullshit pretense, and I found this bench right by the area where we had first met,
right? And
that's where I proposed to her. So it wasn't anything like super expensive, but I had some friends like lay out some roses on the bench and whatever, and kind of surprised her. I mean, I think I like the idea of you're doing something very serious like proposing to him. Really take some time to think about what would be special to her, and I mean, it doesn't have to be something where you're spending a bunch of money. But put some thought into it.
You know what
make it memorable.
There's been a number of stories over the years, and I don't know if this will work. I mean, I don't think this will work for you. It's also a real big time investment, right? But there have been a bunch of stories over the years, and I've read this same story about 6 times, and I love it. Where a guy is dating a girl, and her favorite video game is like a JRPG, right? And so he'll go out and like get that JRPG and then like make a sub quest in there that leads to then like a little hacked piece of that game that then has the proposal into it.
What?
And then like convince her to play it.
Yeah, just do that.
Yeah. that's a pretty big time. For the love of God, don't make like a viral YouTube video. Remember when that was all the big thing about these like.
Yeah, I mean, not like you want to necessarily go the flash mob route,
right?
But you could sort of go on like Craigslist and recruit people to help in some sort of performance if you wanted to do something like that.
Sure.
I mean,
you go
free actors, whatever. If you want to make some little thing that you do as well,
I say go low tech. All right, you get $40 and $67 and mail them to Gary Busey and have him call up your lady on the phone and
my
be like,
God.
"This is Gary Busey. I just want to. I don't know how to do Gary Busey's voice, but and then propose. Or
Do you need the puppets, Jeff and Jason, to make you a little proposal video?
another equal. Oh God! don't drag us into your sick. Fucking,
you do know what Jason's going to say in the video.
yeah, exactly. You've already
So
plotted
tread
it out.
lightly there.
He's going to be like, step one, cut a hole in the box. No, I think, as long as like people ask us these questions and it's like, damn, dude, I need like 6 pages about who your fucking girlfriend is and like what she's into.
It would really be dependent upon the person and like what she likes.
Yeah.
And you would best know what to kind of do
Do it
there.
at a hockey game on the Jumbotron. That's always classy.
You could talk to her friends though as well. I mean, to kind of pick their brain, get their advice. As long as you trust them not to tell her in advance.
Write it out in hot dogs on the ground. I don't know. I fucking train a bunch of dogs to do like shapes and then have them lay down and
That all spell out.
that'd be a lot of dogs. You need a lot of dogs to say, "Will you marry me?" I mean,
Why does it say worry me? Fucking dogs. You did the M upside down.
damn it, Crumbles, get your shit together. I think honestly that that people. I mean, it's kind of almost no matter what you do, as long as you make. It doesn't even have to be the most extraordinary effort, but as long as you're making a fairly extraordinary effort to do something. I mean, I think that it would even be the sort of thing where if you can't afford to go to Japan, if you could fly to a place with sentimental value or like something, if you can find something that has relation to where you first met or blah, 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 blah.
Go to a
right?
Japanese restaurant.
Yeah, exactly. Or, get a Japanese prostitute and then ask her to ask your wife to marry. I don't know. I'm not good at this.
Really? That was a good one. There you go.
Tell her about how you were abducted by aliens one time. That's what does it for me.
Have
So.
her running for the hills.
Yeah.
But good luck and congrats.
Yeah, and go romantic. Do go romantic.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, this next question comes in from CJ, who says, "Dear Jeff and Grant, been a big fan since loading bar days and love the site. I got a quickie for your respective asses. I was a big gamer in my teens and have gotten back into it in the past few years since I hit my 30s. I've mainly stuck to mainstream AAA games like GTA, Last of Us, Assassin's Creed, though not Unity. Fuck Unity. But there are, and that was him, not me, but there are currently limited choices on next-gen systems. I was never really into fantasy games, but most of the major recent releases on next gen seem to be in this genre, like Bloodborne, Dragon Age, and Witcher 3. With this in mind, I think it's time to take the fantasy plunge. Which of these titles is best suited for a filthy casual like me who has no experience of massive complex fantasy games, or simply which is best? Love to hear your thoughts. Keep it fucking classy as fuck, CJ.
Well, this is a question for you, huh?
Yeah, I guess so.
Right up your alley.
Yep. I think if you're a little casual, I think The Witcher 3 and Bloodborne are higher in difficulty level than Dragon Age, obviously.
Do you think it's better to start with Witcher 1 and 2 or whatever? Kind of get introduced to the world?
It's more important with that than it is like, say, because Dragon Age is Dragon Age 3. Dragon Age Inquisition is Dragon Age 3. But you don't need to play the first two in order to get what's going on there. But you might do that. I think Witcher is weird because it does. I mean, he says that he's a filthy casual. Witcher does require. It's a complicated game. It's got a lot of
it looks like
shit going on, right? So, and Bloodborne is also a pretty complicated game. So, I mean, given those, I would think that Dragon Age is probably your best bet because Dragon Age is a pretty easy game to play. And it's good. It's got, high production values. You get to make a character. I mean, you remember, we played it.
Yeah.
Bernadette.
Bernadette.
Yeah.
I would say Witcher 3. I just liked the kind of open sandbox world that you could just go do all these little missions. I thought all the creatures looked pretty cool. Easy to... it looked easy to kill. You're just kind of swinging around a sword for a bit.
Yeah, I make that shit look easy.
You do.
I make it look real easy. No,
but maybe I just don't know any better.
I think there's some. I'm gonna stand up and look. I mean, I'm gonna say, like, if you're looking for a fantasy game, I would also probably consider Shadow of Mordor that came out last year because that game is freaking incredible. Also, Diablo 3 is out on the PlayStation. That's perfectly functional to get into.
Isn't one of the big appeals of these kind of games the complexity and that you kind of build up till you get kind of good at it?
Yeah.
Maybe it is just one of those, like, you want to get in fantasy, go whole hog.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that if you do want to get into, none of those games that you listed are bad. Also, Dark Souls 2 is out on the PlayStation 4, and I'd say that Dark Souls 2 is more complicated than Bloodborne, but in some ways, I don't know. I was going to say in some ways it seems easier.
I thought you didn't like Dark Souls 2.
No, you
love it.
Oh, okay.
Come on.
Well, I liked it less than the first one when I first played it, and then I eventually kind of came around to it. But it kind of just depends on how much time you're willing to invest in a game, right?
Okay.
And how easily frustrated you are. Of those choices that he gave me, I think that Dragon Age is the easiest one to get into. If you're willing to put some time and effort into it, The Witcher 3 is probably the next up on difficulty and complexity. And Bloodborne, while not super complex, can be difficult if it's your first game of those types of games that you're ever playing, because it's a very much an action reflex kind of game that requires split-second timing. Now, if you're willing to do that, I think that Bloodborne is the best of those three because it's got a really interesting and creative story to it. But, again, you have to be willing to suss out. Like, The Witcher 3 tells you a story, and Bloodborne gives you all these hints for you to figure out the story on your own.
Sure.
So if you're just looking for something to sit down and kind of plow through, again, Dragon Age is a big game, easy to play. There's some limits as to how hard you can kind of fuck yourself up with your build in there. So, but any of those would probably work. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. Generally speaking, I just go to Metacritic and do a search for what it is. I also don't know exactly what platform you're on. Like if you're on the PC, it says GTA, Last of Us, Assassin's Creed. I'm going to assume with Bloodborne. Okay, with Bloodborne, he's a PlayStation 4 player, so there's that.
There you go. Thanks for the fucking email, CJ.
Yep. Our next question comes in from Jennifer, who says, "Greetings, Jeff and Grant. Short and sweet. If you could have control of any comic book, video game, or movie franchise and change something permanently, or at least immune to retcons, what would it be? For example, I asked a friend this question, and he would remove the X-Men because of how little sense they make in the Marvel Universe as it is shared with gods, experiments gone wrong, and superhumans." Your friend is stupid, Jennifer. Thanks for reading, Jennifer. May the Jizwells keep the scribes writing Rage Select Bible. X-Men totally belong in the Marvel Universe. Your friend is a dumbass because half of the shit in the Marvel Universe is mutants, and they just had to write that out because the fucking MCU doesn't have access to that.
Yeah, does this, if I had the Marvel franchise, does this mean that I could bring X-Men and Fantastic Four back into that, and Spider-Man just all in that world legit?
Yep. Yeah,
from the beginning?
Sure.
Fuck yeah, I would do that. Oh my God. That'd be a dream come true. Or Star Wars, I would just erase the prequels. Just erase them and redo those completely.
You know, okay, I'm gonna piggyback off of that and say that if I had access to Star Wars, I wouldn't erase the prequels. I would make sure that George Lucas was like the producer and hire a real goddamn writer to write those stories. Because tell you what, like, I'm not a fan of episode 1, 2, and 3, but there's a good story in there.
Oh, yeah.
It's just executed incredibly poorly, right?
Did you hear, who was the actor who took and made a whole recut of the first
the Phantom
movie.
Edit, yeah.
Yeah, who
Where
was
they just,
it?
I don't remember who. I thought it was just some
legit
guy.
actor.
Oh.
No, like some big-time actor.
There was another one. Yeah.
Not the Scrubs guy. Who was it?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Well, I know that story, but I have no idea who the actor was. But.
Yeah, I just read about it a little bit ago, and I posted on it, but I was like, what?
Yeah. I would probably. I mean, there's plenty of places that you can fix stuff, like go back and make The Hobbit one movie instead of adding all that horse shit in, and just have your legitimate Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah, cut all of that down into one really good movie.
Mm-hmm. One 3-hour movie, right? I mean, you could do The Hobbit in 3 hours.
Yeah.
I would also say that if I had access to Lord of the Rings, I would take out I'd go back into the first ones and take out the completely unnecessary romantic love triangle that is not in the book and add something that belongs there.
With the one sexy-looking dwarf that doesn't belong with all the other freakazoid dwarves?
No. I'm talking about the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, where they had the whole Arwen, Eowyn fucking Vigio Morgenstein thing, which wasn't in the book, because then by the third one they had that whole thing where Arwen is leaving and she sees the life that she could have, and then she's like, no, I got to go back, and blah 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 blah. It was injected into there.
Who's even hook up with it in the end? Is it Eowyn?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
No, Arwen.
Yeah, he gets with Arwen.
Right.
Yeah.
Eowyn was the horse lady, right?
Oh, that's right.
Because then they had that whole thing in the second one where it's like he rides off and falls in a pit, and she's like, "Oh, he's dead." And
I just don't care about Lord of the Rings. That I would want to invest my miracle hypothetical retcon with them.
I would. I hesitate to say that I would go back into Batman and fucking, I don't know, pull some of the subplots or make it not as grimly serious as it is, because DC's now doing that. It looks like everything is grimly serious now from here on out for DC.
Yeah, but DC's just that's what they're doing.
Put Kevin Feige.
They're going dark
involved.
all the way
Yeah.
with their stuff, and you just have to wait to the next batch in 10 years,
20 years. Once this one goes up, gets fucked up, is gone, and then somebody decides to reboot it.
They'll redo it again.
I mean,
in our lifetime.
Here's
we'll
the
be
thing:
okay.
is I don't necessarily want it to look like the Brave and the Bold cartoon. I don't want it to be Adam West Zip Bam Pow.
Yeah.
But fucking Nolan's take on that shit was so fucking self-serious, so broody, and just yeah, I don't know.
Jeff, you're going in a wrong direction with me, pal.
Okay. Maybe I'll go back and put somebody that is not Zack Snyder involved in charge of Superman, who understands what Superman actually is, instead of just this horse shit. I went
What
to.
was your ultimate pick?
Oh, I don't know. Fucking pick one. I don't care.
Marvel. Marvel's my pick.
Marvel,
and I'm bringing X-Men and Fantastic Four and all that goodness into that universe. Man, Fantastic Four ought to be there for when they're doing the Infinity Gauntlet. Man,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm hoping this movie tanks and they'll be able to snag them, because they're like, fuck, we have a dying franchise. We failed again with Fantastic Four.
Sony has it, right?
Yeah.
Sony will never let go of it. They will never let go of that franchise. It could bomb, and they will still not let go of it. Like I don't. Have they let go? Well, wait a minute. No. Wait, hold on. I'm wrong. They did that whole thing with Spider-Man, right? Where they're gonna let Feige help them with Spider-Man, or what was the deal with that? Where they were like,
right?
They're gonna let him kind of like. They're a partnership where he can be in the
Spider-Man's
universe.
going to be in both, and they're going to help oversee. And so there's potential there.
Yeah.
And they could recast it. Oh, man, that would be great.
You know what they really need to do is they need to get Ghost Rider in, and then they can get the new Fantastic Four. See, if they bring back in the X-Men and Ghost Rider, they could have the new Fantastic Four, which is Spider-Man, Grey Hulk, Ghost Rider, and Wolverine.
We need to get the West Coast Avengers here. Where's Flatman? I need more Flatman.
I need more Wonder Man. I don't understand his powers and what the fuck they are all about. What do you do, Wonder Man? I don't know. It's weird. You're just like some kind of weird guy. I don't know.
He does something, and you just sit there and you wonder about it.
I'm trying to think
what
of
the fuck was that?
games that I would probably be interested in changing around.
Wonder Man, I think, just throws Wonder Bread at people.
That's right.
That's his power.
Ah!
He manifests Wonder Bread out of nowhere. And
Why did you do that?
people.
I don't know. I wonder. I'm trying to think of big letdowns. No, wait. Okay. You go back and fix for video games, right? You go back and you can fix Assassin's Creed Unity, right? Put that back together the way it's supposed to go.
I guess.
I'd
I'd fix the franchise so they don't have that whatever bullshit, like the assassins jumping into future time shit.
Oh, they've largely ignored that for the last several games.
Seriously?
Yeah.
It's still in there, though. What is that? What's it called?
The Animus. But it was
Animus. I'd get rid of that. That just doesn't even exist.
You know, the thing is that the guy that created Assassin's Creed 1 and Assassin's Creed 2, Patrice Desilets, left, and he, like Assassin's Creed 2, that stuff was going in a really, really interesting direction. And then Assassin's Creed 3, they kind of picked it up, and it kind of just started going, you know. I got it.
What?
I got it.
What are you going to fix?
Aliens, Colonial Marines.
What'd you just say?
Aliens, Colonial Marines.
Aliens, Colonial Marines.
Oh, yeah, you don't know about this, do you?
No.
Okay, so was it last year? several years ago, Sega and I can't remember who else, Gearbox, the guys that made Borderlands, they're making an Aliens game, right? And it's technically they were working with Fox and with Ridley Scott and with Sega, and they were making basically a sequel to the movie Aliens that carried that story on. They got Michael Biehn to come in and do voice work for it. This was 2 or 3 years ago. The game was fucking terrible. Like, really, really bad. Like, I get people who write in who are just like, it taxed my faith in the fact that anything can be good ever again in life. And I'm just like, really? Because there's never really been a super good Aliens game. But it seems like a no-brainer, right? How can you not make a good Aliens game, right? Just shooting aliens. It should be fine.
Yeah.
So I'd go back and give that to somebody who's got a little bit of creativity in them and see if they can't make it worth a damn. Oh, also, I'd go back and make games for all of the Marvel movies because they need games.
TV wise, I would make some adjustments in the last season of Lost, and I would really tighten up the second season of Lost. But make those adjustments in the last season so there aren't so many babies complaining about it. And Heroes. I might take Heroes and just completely like that had such good potential, and it just squandered all
Fix
of
it from the second season onward, right?
You know, or halfway through the first season onward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is maybe not a very
This is a great question, by the
yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Bunch of us just nerdy, wishful thinking.
This is not going to be very popular opinion, and you might just don't lunge directly for my jugular. But I might go in and for as much as I talk about not really liking super dark media, I've always felt like the last episode of Breaking Bad got a little weird. Like, it didn't seem to fit as much with the tone of the rest of it. Like, they kind of, in fact, parts, not necessarily, maybe the last even 2 episodes, like the whole keeping Jesse as a slave thing and like some of that stuff.
Spoiler alert! Spoilers.
Sorry. Yeah, if you haven't seen, oh come on, if you haven't seen Breaking Bad by now,
but
okay,
some
spoilers.
people haven't.
But I think that I would have probably reworked those last 2 episodes. Like there was a roadmap there, but I've always felt like, you know, the way that okay, again, spoilers, the way that Walt is just conveniently shot by his own thing, and then like he gets to, I don't know. See,
do you know there's theories about this?
Yes, about him dying in the car.
He dies in the car, and
right.
everything else is just this wishful thinking about like how it all could have worked out still. And doesn't that seem like sure?
Yeah,
because it all seems almost a little bit to Mr. Wizard. He has his car right in the right place.
Right.
Everything works out. He's a hero. He saves Jesse. Jesse gets whatever.
Yeah. I think I would have rather have seen. See, I've heard some of this comes from the Cracked podcast, but I'd be lying if I hadn't said that I hadn't thought about it as well. What I really wanted at the end of Breaking Bad was for fucking Walter White to have to own up to the fact that he was distributing methamphetamines to people, which destroys people's lives. And the way that I
he
wanted
never really has to face his victims. There.
No, he gets to die. What I want to see at the end of Breaking Bad is that Junior is hooked on blue meth. All right? That's dark. And that is the sort of thing where I want to see fucking Bryan Cranston have to stand up there and have him presented with the fact that I did all this for my family, and that after he leaves, that Junior is now hooked on the exact meth that he made.
See, that would have been pretty good, too.
And that's some like, no, you don't get to just die, Walter White. You don't get to just die and then leave. We're going to end this with, like, you've destroyed not only your life, but your family that you said you were doing all this for in the first place.
Oh, man.
So, anyway, I'm sorry. We're going to go. Keep going. All right. This one comes in from Slimer, who has emailed us before. And he says, Sup, Gunge Brothers? I don't know what that means. Gungan Brothers? I'm going to say Gungan Brothers. What's up, Gangnam Style? It is I, Slimer, with yet another gooey question to ask. The Kinect, PlayStation Move, Wii U, and Vita have all been considered a failure in one way or another, but why? What aspect of each project caused their eventual downfall? Keep up the good sloppy slime, Slimer. And then, because I always ask his questions when John is on, and then we always talk about Ghostbusters, and then he says, P.S. I'm in no way affiliated with the Ghostbusters, which just makes it a little bit dirtier with all the gooey, sloppy, slimy stuff. But
it's pretty gross.
So
the technology isn't there yet.
Maybe.
And people aren't ready to adopt it.
I think that there's some fundamental. I think there's some fundamental issues. I think that the thing that all of these have in common is when people when people try to create a new type of control surface that isn't part of that medium. I think it's because the Kinect and the PlayStation Move are both motion controlled, right? And the Wii U and the PlayStation Vita both have touch screens, right?
Yeah.
I think that a lot of it comes down to the fact there's a great extra credit video called Connect Disconnect that everybody should go watch. I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that when you play video games, like this I'm holding a PlayStation controller. I'm just gesturing here. This thing has evolved over decades, right? And it's a device that people who play video games very instinctively know how to use. When you have a Kinect or when you have a PlayStation Move, it's some new variant of waving your arms around.
Were there a bunch of weird, odd controllers before the original NES controller? Like along the way, they're like, "Oh, you will have to hold all these." Like I remember, the Rolly Ball thing was a big one.
Well, here's the
And
thing:
that still exists with Golden Tee.
from what I know, the beginning of video games was mostly a joystick, one joystick, and then buttons. That was your initial setup, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you had the PC where you had a full keyboard to work with. But like the Atari 2600 was a joystick with one button. ColecoVision had that dumb disc and then a bunch of buttons. There have been some things that are different, but generally speaking, you're talking about you got your hands on a thing, on a physical object. And that's, I think, the main difference between this, right? Is that on the Wii U, if you put something on that Wii U pad, I have to look down at that in order to touch it. In the PlayStation Vita, if you want to touch something on the screen, you actually have to occlude the screen with your finger. You have to put your finger over the thing you're supposed to be concentrating on. And with the Kinect and the PlayStation Move, you're doing what is a very unnatural movement set. The way this extra credits video explained it, and I think it's one of the best ways to think about it, is that we instinctively as a species use tools. So we'll use not even just stuff like a screwdriver, but things like a car that after a certain amount of training eventually becomes second nature to us. Is that we don't think real hard about a screwdriver. You just pick it up and you kind of instinctively kind of know how to use it.
Sure.
And the same can be true of complex things like a car or a controller, and that the Kinect and the Move and these kind of things are somewhat unnatural. Like for stuff like Fruit Ninja, right? It makes sense where you have one thing that you're using your hand for that has an analog in real life.
Sure.
But I think that we're much more at home using a tool than we are emulating emotion, right?
So what do you think about the Oculus and its new handheld controllers that are going to come out with it? Do you think that's going to be a success?
So here's the thing. They actually mentioned this in the media briefing. I have shown probably about a dozen people my Oculus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I almost always see people do when they're in the Oculus
Is raise their hands.
reach their hand out like they want to touch what's in the world. The idea that controller that they created, it's kind of like the best of both worlds because you're still holding on to something that's essentially like one of these, right? So you can still totally control a game with the joysticks and with the buttons and with the triggers, but you also have the ability to, since it's broken in half, do other things with motion. I like that because it's a stopgap measure. It's not just like we're gonna use the camera for everything like the Kinect tries to do, right? It's a way to say that it makes sense because you already know how to walk forward in a video game using a thumbstick, right? So let's stick with that. But then let's say that you walk with the thumbstick on one, and like we were talking about, you hold this thing like a gun. You hold your hand up like you've got a gun and shoot. So you're not dealing with walking. You can still walk with your thumb and your other thumb on your other hand, but then you're actually aiming with your hand like you're holding a gun. It's a half step instead of saying we're going to kit you out with all this stuff. It's like let's just worry about getting people acclimatized to control surfaces where they can use their hands to do stuff. And I think it's a nice halfway step because it doesn't throw away what we already have.
It'll
know.
be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, the Wii was a motion controlled system that everybody liked, but it was very limited.
Yeah.
And that the best things for the Wii were the things that were designed for the Wii. The thing about the Oculus and about that controller set that's interesting is you could use that controller set to play Shadow of Mordor, right?
Sure.
That wouldn't be a problem. You don't have to have anything that you can reach out and get. So, all right, our next question. This is a big one. This is a big one, Grant.
Okay.
So, all right, dear Jeff and Grant, I asked this question in response to a recent Cracked podcast discussion on unspoken stereotypes and racist stuff white people believe. Recently, I came to terms with having lost a great friend. He's not dead, however, we've drifted as a result of discussing what's considered racist. I live in Tampa, Florida for 3 years and was welcomed daily by a very large Confederate flag at the I-295 and I-95 connection on my way to work. One day I mentioned how I found it offensive since it very much represents to me, he says he's black, a symbol of oppression and bigotry. He, being a white male raised in Pennsylvania, absolutely could not wrap his head around my reaction and stated that racism was over. This discussion lasted weeks as we could not see eye to eye. A short time later, we attended a Dave Matthews concert. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh at that. And somehow discussed the Michael Brown shooting with his father, who's a retired undercover gang crime state trooper who called the police officer a poor boy only doing his job. And I made no comment at the time. Whatever your thoughts are on police shooting of unarmed men, I stopped looking at my friend and best man, apparently, as someone... This guy uses a lot of parentheses, I'm sorry. I stopped looking at my friend and best man as someone with whom I could relate, and we drifted. Do you think racism is over, or has it morphed into subtle signs sprinkled around us under the ruse of free speech, intellectual/religious freedom, and Orwellian doublespeak? Should we condemn and thus possibly censor actions that do not contribute to social, moral, and ethical progress? Why hold on to a past that hurts people in the present? Hope this wasn't too loaded a question, and may the almighty Dong Lord bless you with his holy stickiness. Alex DP. He says if we don't answer it on the show, he still wants to hear thoughts on it.
Well, apparently, if we don't agree with him, he's gonna. No, I'm kidding. but I do agree with you. Absolutely, it's not dead.
Absolutely,
racism is still very much present. I think it's morphed into a little bit of a deeper thing, or maybe like a less recognized thing. I mean,
so I focus on this question because I have these conversations a lot with my sister, where we talk a lot about both feminism and stuff like that. And there was one day where I kind of had this idea that I think maybe Alex is something that that applies. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't. I always kind of like to tread lightly around the edges of these topics, so I don't want to come up and say I know all or whatever. But I was thinking about this. We've made gigantic strides in like racism and gay rights and or not so much gay rights, but still kind of working on that, but like women's rights and things like that. And when you do that,
if you take it in the context of all of humanity and look how much of strides we've made in the past century,
right? But what I was thinking about is that we've cut huge obvious problems have been somewhat solved, right? You know, giving women the vote, for example, or in the case of racial relations, you know, the abolition of segregation and integration, that sort of thing. What you're left with, though, is not, I feel like, a easily recognizable huge thing. It's much more the residue of previous racism that is still around in ways that is a lot harder to deal with because it's not somebody calling you the N-word, right? It's not like overt shitty racism. It's more like lower level ideas.
Yeah, it's subtler, and they themselves might not recognize that what they're doing is bigotry, and you can point it out to someone, and they'll still be like, no. They just see it a different way or whatever. But I mean, it is still present, and it's something that still, I guess, kind of needs time for people to. I mean, people are getting better.
Yeah,
people are opening their minds up. They're recognizing.
At least it seems that way. It seems like there's at least more discussion, I guess.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, I'm forever an optimist.
Yeah,
and I think that each generation is getting much more open-minded. I mean, you can talk about people being the PC police or what's that other term? Social justice warriors all the time.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like these people are championing the greater ideal of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's annoying or kind of oppressing freedom of some people, I still feel like it's advancing progress, and I'm very proud of that. It takes time though. It sucks.
There's one.
It's very also sad about your friend.
Yeah,
but I mean, I would say if it's already dead, the relationship is dead. But if you can still reach out and maybe help keep discussing with that person, maybe you can come around. Yeah.
I highly recommend. I highly recommend episode 74 of the Cracked Podcast, which is called "The Horrible '90s Hit Song That Explains the Modern World." There's a part in there where
what's the song?
It's "We Didn't Start the Fire."
Yeah, okay.
You kind of get where that's coming from.
Yeah.
But
I love that song.
there's a part where towards the end where Jason Pargin makes this very I think it's a very good point about the difference between blame and responsibility, and how we do have a responsibility to help our society become better. That doesn't necessarily mean that you are to blame for the ills that you are making better, right?
Sure.
He says it better than I can. But in all honesty, I definitely think that we're hitting a few stumbling blocks on this, just because when he talks about the whole like people's free speech rights and stuff like that, I feel like because of social media and because we all have such a big presence online, and what people say is so much more visible, that you're probably encountering that topic, I guess, can sometimes kind of muddy the waters, because it's complicated, right? It's all this stuff I feel like is incredibly complicated.
In part, you get to see it's very weird with online comments.
Yeah,
because is this people's true racism, or is this people's like backlash desire to say something outrageous just to feel a part of a conversation, even if it's in a trollish way?
Sure.
I mean, it's hard to kind of read the individual in the hatred that you see in troll commentary.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think that,
heavy question.
Yeah, Alex, I think that if you can, I mean, it sounds like he's kind of made up his mind about his friend there. The only thing I guess I can say to him is that, I don't know, if your friend's not willing to talk to you at all and it's something that's important to you. I mean, I think that so many times we get into a situation where people are just flinging out their opinions, and to hell with anybody else who has a differing opinion. And I think it's much more useful to try to convince somebody of something than to just say like, well, then go fuck yourself. Right.
I mean, yeah,
it's just
my family does not see eye to eye with me on a lot of these issues. I mean, I consider myself liberal. They're very conservative.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I came from. But on the one hand, I would say that's where I came from.
Yeah.
And through discussions with other people, I changed my point of view. So it's not that like turning your back on me would not have had me change my view. It was that people were patient and like, discuss these things with me. And so I would offer that as a bit of encouragement, continue to maybe try and keep the line of communication open.
Yeah.
And you might be able to salvage a friendship that, especially with someone that was your best man.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say, for the record, last year I spent like the entire year kind of thinking about a lot of this stuff, and I still think about it a lot, but it's taken me a long time to come to a conclusion, because it's like 1 week this seems perfectly logical, and then you start thinking about it too hard and you're just like, well, maybe not, and then I don't know. And so that the biggest thing I think with all this stuff is just to keep communicating with people, because when you stop communicating with them, then everybody just goes into their separate corners, and nobody, can convince anybody of anything.
Yeah,
like you were saying.
Racism ain't dead.
Yes, that is true. The statement "racism is over" could not be more fucking crazy. So
Yeah.
I haven't even looked at the Dallas stuff that's happening here right now. Of,
The
like,
McKinney stuff.
yeah, oh boy.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Next one comes in from Whiskey Wolf. who says, "Hey, Jeff and Grant, Whiskey Wolf here, wishing you all the blessings of the great Dong Lord. When I was in high school and college, my view of video games was bigger, and bigger is always better. I devoured open world and semi-open world games like Skyrim, Red Dead Redemption, Dragon Age, Mass Effect, Darksiders, Assassin's Creed, GTA 4, and loved the hell out of them. Then came the real world and a job and errands and social engagements and relationships and on and on. The result is that I do not have nearly the same amount of time to devote to gaming as I used to. This has made me reluctant to begin playing the big open games that I used to, Witcher 3 and GTA 5 in particular. I really want to play them, but fear that I cannot devote the necessary time to truly enjoy them. My question is, have you ever had a change in your life circumstances majorly impact and change the way you approach gaming? What would you suggest I do to address my reluctance to play the type of game I love because I fear the time commitment? As always, continue raging, and I truly hope that the funds raised by the Ragecast allow you to keep the site going strong. Whiskey Wolf." They did, and they do. And
Thank you guys once again so much for all the support.
Yep, absolutely. So,
Couple things there.
Yeah. I have the jackass reverse answer for this question. Is like, yeah, when I started this website, I found that I was playing way more video games than I used to.
Yeah. Yeah, life, of course, life circumstances. I mean, I'm about to have a second kid.
Yeah.
So I was already just telling Jeff earlier, I'm like, I'm not going to be like, I don't know if I can do as much as I was doing on the site. I'll still try and do a bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know what 2 kids is going to hold for me.
Yeah. I've been meaning
one was a bit of a challenge.
I've been meaning to talk to you about this, Grant. Look, you're going to need to make. I'm starting to doubt your commitment to Sparkle Motion. You're going to need to make a commitment either to Rage Select or to your children, and I think that the answer is very clear.
You know my heart's with Rage Select.
To the website, right? Yeah. The Dong Lord calls. You got to answer. You got to pick up the cry.
I just can never play games anymore. Before my kid, I was able to play a lot more games on my PS3, but now it's just I can't focus. And the time I do have when I'm not watching her or over here doing a podcast or over at my other thing doing a podcast or over at my other thing doing a podcast is pretty precious time to me.
Sure.
So I can't devote it to some long gaming.
Yeah. I mean, you and I, I'm going to tell you this right now that, what part did we just record of GTA 5? We're at, part 12 or 13 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
We're nowhere. We are nowhere.
Tip of the iceberg.
Every one of those characters has, a 10-hour story arc.
Oh,
but it's good that it's fascinating. I think that GTA 5 actually works really well because you can play it you've seen.
You can pick up and go. You can do whatever you want for a while.
Pick it up. You can play a mission, finish the mission, put it down, right?
Yeah. They usually take about 30 minutes.
Yep. If you want to just dick around in the world, you can dick around in the world. If you want to, I definitely understand that it drives me nuts when I'm not able to finish a big game because I want to finish them. But I guess what I would probably say is I'll tell you what it is. Maybe you can give this guy your input on this. Is that when you have a long game like GTA 5, right? You can either say that I'm going to play GTA 5 in my spare time every time I have spare gaming time for the next year and a half to 2 years. And I'm sure that everybody knows people like that are they got a job, they got a wife, they got stuff. They play games in 2-hour increments, for 3 days a week or something like that.
Sure.
Right? And so if that's the case, that means that it's going to take you on a game like GTA that's hundreds of hours long, a long-ass time to finish it. Whereas you could be playing games that are 8 to 10 hours long and be finishing them up, in
feeling
a month.
like you're completing something.
Yeah, exactly. But see, then I know a lot of people who don't actually feel the need to beat games.
Nah.
A lot of people don't feel the need. I saw a study one time that said 2/3 of people don't ever actually finish every game that they play.
Yeah. I would say to Whiskey Wolf, if you find playing the games to be maybe somewhat therapeutic, it is important to you to kind of have this time to play games, then try and find a little bit of time in your week and actually block it off, specifically, and schedule it as video game time. And then you have that goal in mind, and you just kind of pop in the game, play a little bit, just kind of unwind and get your time in. and you don't feel like, I guess, a pressure to push and beat the game, but you kind of get to relax, and I'm just going to play this for 30 minutes an hour once a week, and I get a little bit of that, and I get a feel for this. And if you kind of are done with that game, you can swap in something else at that time. But then it's kind of compartmentalized, and you don't have to feel so, I guess, stressed about, oh, do I have the time for this? Because you already blocked out the time.
Yeah. And if you're going to play like GTA 5, I'd say, or The Witcher, just know it's going to take you a long-ass time.
Yeah.
And you know what? If that's the case, if you're going to play one of those games, that's another thing I guess you could suggest is that like on any game like say Dragon Age or like the stuff the guy rolled out, right? GTA 5. In GTA 5, you can just play the main story missions, right?
Sure.
You can ignore all of the side activities, the Strangers and Freaks missions. You could just go mission, and get through the entire game. You can play it like it's not an open world game, like it's a single player game where you just drive to the place.
I just thought of another solution. If you don't have time to play this game, you can just watch us play it.
Become a patron and just watch us
on
play
our Patreon
an hour a week.
Yeah.
You can watch John and I play Bloodborne too. I was actually looking at his email, and he says, then came the real world and a job, errands, and social engagements and relationships and so on. So if you break up with your girlfriend, stop hanging out with your friends, and then let your house fall into disrepair and decay, you have plenty of time to play video games.
There you go.
There you go. Just burn your life down. That's all I'm saying. All right, I'm going to go ahead and busy. Okay, yeah, this is the last serious question that we got. We could just whip through those last two.
All right.
This one says, hi, Jeff and Grant. My name is Kenneth. What's the frequency, buddy? And loyal patron from Hong Kong. First, sorry for the poor grammar. English is not my first nor second language.
Wow.
I have one story and one question for you guys. This is a great question, by the way.
Okay.
When I was a teenager, all of my video games were bought by my father, which he allowed my brother and I to play anything except for, quotey fingers, porno games from Japan. One day, my father bought me a Japanese turn-based strategy game. The game was set in a medieval time / fantasy world. It was fantasy world. The game itself had decent graphics, good gameplay mechanics, and an okay storyline. However, all of that felt a little bit too generic for me. But suddenly, the story of the game came to a screen that the female protagonist, who was a virgin princess, needed to be sacrificed for some dark lord on the top of some tower in order to save her. I'm sorry. This guy uses commas where he should be using periods. Needed to be sacrificed for some dark lord on the top of some tower. In order to save her, the male protagonist needed to, quotey fingers, unvirgin the princess on the top of the tower, and he did unvirgin her bravely. From that point onward, the game became a hardcore animated porno video game with even better graphics, with all kinds of X on X action, men and elves, dwarves and elves, men and women, women and elves, tentacles and women and elves at the same time, orcs and orc rape dungeons.
Oh my god!
At the end, this game had become one of the best games I've ever played. Until these days, my father has no idea that he had bought me a fucked up video game. So here's my question: are there any games that you would like to see a porno parody version of? Hardcore porn version of Mass Effect, gay porn version of Batman Arkham City, porno version of Super Mario Brothers, etc., etc. Sorry for the long email and sorry for my poor English. Thank you for reading this. Keep on raging, Kenneth.
Oh my god! Do you know what game that is?
I have no fucking look. That what he's talking about. It could be a number of different video games.
Oh man,
that I know about, and a whole bunch that I probably don't know about.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
and for this being your third language, if maybe fourth,
yeah,
that's actually a really well written email.
It's a good story.
Great job, man.
Yep,
and a great story.
I'm trying to. It's funny because this may be a little bit too telling, but I don't really understand porn parodies.
Oh, you're missing out.
No,
they're hilarious.
No, I'm not. I've seen them, but I don't watch porn to laugh. I watch it for an entirely different purpose.
What are you doing?
Shaving my head mostly.
Oh, okay.
I shave my head.
That's why your hair looks so fucked up.
Yeah.
You need to reshape your head.
Yeah, I do. I really do. I'm a little scared because I haven't done it myself yet. So Jason.
Are you gonna pick it?
Yeah,
you've only had Jason's soft hands on your head.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. Okay, well, do you have an answer to this?
I mean, his Super Mario is intriguing.
That's already a thing.
With the mushrooms and the Yoshis and shit.
That's the other thing is that half the time it's already a thing.
Yeah.
There's that one website that just does nothing but like kind of low budget porn parody stuff.
Oh, really?
They do a whole Doctor Who series that I tried watching. The problem is that I don't have any interest in watching your porn actors try to act like they're.
Is that the Bob's Burgers people?
I think it is. I think it is. Yeah.
I remember that being all over the internet.
And I mean, there's so much Batman porno out there. Like all you have to do is search for it.
Yeah. Man, what game?
You know what I want to alter his question.
I want to see F-Zero.
Kenneth, I'm going to alter your question just a little bit. Grant, what game would you like to see hardcore porn put into? Where just halfway through it just stops and then becomes a weird hardcore porno?
Oh, man. That is also a great question. What would, man?
No Shadows of Mordor yet again. Like
Shadows of Mordor?
Got to be some lady orcs out there that our ranger is a little hard up for.
GTA 5 seems prime for it, doesn't it?
The introduction of, well, that wasn't hardcore, but yeah, I mean, the Grand Theft Auto series is
it seems it could just seamlessly be in there.
One of the first video games I ever knew of that had full-on dong in it in GTA 4, Ballad of Gay Tony.
Was he gay?
Actually, Grand Theft Auto 5. Oh shit, we haven't done that in the game. Like, cause you know how you have the first-person perspective now.
Yeah,
you can get a prostitute and then watch that whole thing go down from first person. And it's like, oh god, this is. Let's see. Lego Harry Potter. That's where I want my hardcore.
Well, you're on the watch list now. Congratulations.
No, like year 5 when they're all 25 or whatever. Like no.
Year 5.
Yeah.
When they're 16.
Yeah, I kind of walked myself into a corner with that one. Destiny. That's what I'm going to say. Mostly Destiny.
Destiny. There we go.
Yep.
That's what we want.
All right. 2 more. We're going to
Thank you, Kenneth.
through these. Great question, by the way. And I'm really interested if he could let me know what that game is.
Yeah.
Maybe we could play it for a Patreon or something.
There we go.
Find a ROM for it. All right, this one is from Mauricio. He says, "Hello, Rage Crew. Mauricio Cuervo here. This will be the second time I ask a question. So saw your demand on email and on Twitter and had one. Despite E3 next week, I kind of want to ask you guys a serious question. How long do you guys think you're going to do Rage Select until you guys decide to shut it down? The past few months, I've seen a lot of YouTube Let's Players that I love just call it quits from either harsh comments, just to want to stop doing videos, or just moving on to better things. Since it has been 2 years for you guys, are you guys having second thoughts about keeping on doing Rage Select still, or give it another 2 to 3 years? Anything you guys want to move on to? Thanks, guys. Mauricio." And then he's got me confused with Jason, I assume, but this has got this PS where he says, "Jason, because of you and your constant mention of Dark Souls, I bought Bloodborne and fell in love with it, so thanks. And right after I beat it last week, Dark Souls 3 was announced. Fuck. You think this is going to be the new Assassin's Creed release thing for every year? I'd like to take a break after a while, or will it get stale after a while? Thoughts." And later, Mauricio.
So first off, thoughts. What are your thoughts on that?
I for one, when somebody asked me about the announcement of Dark Souls 3, I said that I'd rather see them take a year off.
Yeah.
This year they had the Scholar of the First Sin edition of Dark Souls 2 right like a month before Bloodborne came out, and I don't want to get tired of those games, and I feel like a lot of times when you put out a game every single year, it doesn't allow me any time to build up anticipation. Which is one of the greatest things. I feel like nobody has that anymore. Like anticipation and not knowing anything and not having a trailer every other goddamn day. You can kind of get yourself all psyched up.
One of the things I lament about TV, like summer is still full of TV. There's no break.
Yeah.
They're just other great shows all the time now.
When's Doctor Who coming back on? Let's see more Doctor Who.
Okay, so
as far as the questions go, I'm sorry. I thought this was a different question. But,
so when are we going to shut down?
Now,
almost a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Hey, but you guys came through.
I guess
with the donations.
So I guess he sent this question when I sent it out, and I thought about it briefly. And what I wanted to say is that no matter what happens, like let's say that I had to get a day job, right, because we weren't paying the bills, which we've gotten
that's been kicked around
a little bit close to from time to time. I would still want to do this on the weekends whenever I could. I
Yeah.
love it, man. You know,
Yeah.
it's there's a level of stress to trying to come up with something like every week, right? But let's say that I had a day job and I could only record a couple videos a week. I'd still record a couple videos a week. I mean, they may not have.
It would probably have to change a bit.
Yeah, it probably would have to be less content. But I fucking love doing this shit, man. Like it's it's great. And a lot of times we don't do this stuff. I mean, I know that like the Beerus is not a self-sustaining, or the TV Dudes, right, is not self-sustaining, but you do it because you love it, right? I mean, it's...
Yeah, I've done it for 5 years.
Yeah.
All out of pocket. I mean, it's just host costs and I guess getting together and all that. But Beerus was like it's expensive drinking all that beer and Rubio hosting it. That's
I'm
like
sure.
$100 an episode on that. And then you include hosting costs and all that for him.
Yeah.
We're finally just about breaking even, and that doesn't account for his debt. But I mean, with this show, I mean, it's kind of tough to be profitable, and I don't think Rage Select is necessarily there yet, where it's like profitable, but it's sustaining. And that's good.
Yeah. There's some. I mean, I will say that we probably. I'm working on this new T-shirt right now, right? But we probably should have had more T-shirts last year, right? We had one last year that was like the 1 year anniversary shirt that you put together. That was fantastic, but we didn't have anything else after that, right? And
Yeah.
I think that because last year we had a certain amount of not to get too insidery with this, but we had a certain amount of cash built up that I thought was going to cover us for taxes, and it didn't because I just wasn't specific enough with it. But it is difficult, and I think the thing is that from a financial aspect, I think that even if I had a day job, I still just get my friends together and play video games or fucking do it myself. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, this is still so much fun. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, we of course want to keep this going. As far as like, I mean, I guess you're not necessarily saying moving. You're saying moving on to, but I think that we always are discussing ways to kind of tweak and evolve, and what might be next steps.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's still difficult because so much of the content and burden is on Jeff's shoulders, and it's like you have to kind of keep the ship afloat.
Yeah.
You can't necessarily always like take time to kind of swerve over and implement new testing products and projects.
Yeah.
But I mean, we have a lot of ideas.
I want to. I think that after E3 this year, there's a few things that I've been thinking about that we're probably going to be changing a couple things, and there's some stuff that I'd like to do to get us into a position where we can do more creative stuff, have a little bit more time off, right?
More Grant versus Game.
More Grant versus Game. Yeah, bring back Grant versus Game. It could be.
I mean, we did have like right after year one, there was kind of this little burst of other little a few other little shows like Savage Tits popped up there, and GVG and JVG,
JVB,
and the Academy.
Yeah,
I guess. So we're kind of like experimenting there a little bit too.
Yeah,
and more stuff on the horizon.
Yeah. The other thing though is that someday. This is so much in the back of my mind, and I think that someday there's going to come a point where I just have to pull the trigger on it. I want to make a video game. Like I love video games. I've played a shit ton of them. I think they're great. I really want to make one, and I've had a few ideas, but it's mainly just like making a video game is something you can do in your spare time, but it takes like 10 years in your spare time to make a video game. Like if you want to make a video game, you have to like make that your job, essentially.
You need to recruit some people.
Right. So I don't know.
I always want to do so much more stuff with the green screen.
Yeah.
I always love the fact that there's a green screen here. I'm like, let's do more stuff. But when I always say, let's do more stuff, I'm like, hey, Jeff, do more stuff.
Right.
And you're like, fuck you.
Like,
I'm not taking up more stuff.
Well, I like it. I mean, again, it's a little behind the scenes stuff where Grant's like, we'll be real psyched up when you first come over to my house to do some, and it's like, yeah, then we're going to do this 20-minute skit when we get done, right? And then we record for like 5 hours, and then it's like, all right, do you want to do that skit now? And he's just like, fuck, dude, I'm going to punch you in the face.
I'm going home.
That's right.
Going home.
So yeah, but I hope that answers your question. We'll do it as long as, I mean, besides, at this point, like the folks that are left here on Rage Select, you guys are like the super fans. You guys are the superest of super fans.
Yeah, you're awesome.
You're better fans than other fans. You guys could take on other fans. All right, last question. This one's a little funny. This one is from Andre from Ecuador. He says, "Hello, children of the dong. This is Andre from Ecuador. I'll go straight to the question. What would you prefer? A, to have any dinosaur of your choosing the size of your dog, or B, have your dog be the size of any dinosaur you're choosing? What dinosaur would it be and why? Thank you for all the laughs and dick jokes. Keep it fucking classy. Andre from Ecuador."
Oh man, I would have a dog the size of a real velociraptor,
Yeah.
which is about the size of a dog.
Yeah.
So it'd just be a dog, I guess.
Wait.
Actual velociraptors
Right.
are much tinier. They're about dog size.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was about to
Unlike
say
the movies, the Jurassic Park movies.
Okay.
Where they make them a lot bigger.
Yeah. I'd like to have like a T-Rex that was the size of my dog, right?
Oh hell yeah! I'd
You'd
love
just
to have
be
a.
stomping around like going, Mike.
I mean, maybe not a T-Rex because they'd try and bite me. But a little brontosaurus would be adorable.
Yeah.
It's itty bitty little mouth and feed them leaves and shit.
Just be pooping everywhere. Just
A
pooping.
pterodactyl. You can have them
pterodactyl?
like just pterodactyl.
Yeah.
A pterodactyl.
A pterodactyl.
Pterodactyls. Yeah, those would be cool. It's like a sugar glider or something.
Maybe a little like a stegosaurus or a triceratops.
Yeah.
So it's got some little pointiness on it, but not like, if it was the size of a dog, it wouldn't be enough to really hurt you all that
Cute little
much.
stegosaurus.
Yeah.
Oh,
Pat
man.
him on his plate. Pop, pop, pop. On the other hand, there is something very perverse in my brain about having my dog be the size of like a stegosaurus in real life, just walking around.
You just hop on his back and have him take you places.
Dude, at that point, I need like a rope ladder to get up on top of him.
You'd have Clifford essentially.
Yeah. When he tried to get in my lap, I would die. He would just.
I would totally want a little mini dinosaur though.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Compies are already pretty tiny, I guess.
Those are the scavengers. Those are the spitting guys. That's,
No, there's
there's Dilaphosaur or whatever,
Dilaphosaurus,
something like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
What's the one? What's the one with the head?
They all have heads.
They do. They all have head.
They all-
They had like the dome head.
Oh, yeah, the real stupid looking one, like the Allosaurus or something like that, or
Petrius. I don't remember what it is.
I don't know my
Allosaurus might be right. Yeah.
yeah. Or I'm gonna take it one way further. I want dog-sized Dinobots hanging out at my house. A little Grimlock the size of like a toddler, right?
No.
Yeah,
No, that was outside of the parameters.
Outside of the
You went fictional.
Okay.
All right. You're having a real dog-sized dinosaur.
Okay, all right. That's the rules. Don't
Yeah.
break the rules. All right, folks. Well, you know what? We are done. That's all the questions that we have for this week. Grant, thank you so much. I think it's
Hey.
probably going to be a while before we see you on a podcast over here.
Might be a bit. Yeah.
So, yep. Anything you'd like to say to the people before we leave?
Hey, check me out on my other stuff too.
Yeah.
Go to my Facebook page, the Grant Davis page, and like me on Twitter, Baron Von Grain. You can follow all my shit.
Okay.
There you go. How's
A
that?
plug?
I did plug. I don't know. I'm still gonna be around, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're not.
Am I fired?
As far as I know, I mean, as far as you know,
Uh-oh.
I mean, I gave that guy $500. I don't know what he's waiting for.
That'd be
so.
really. What? Did you put a hit out on me?
All right, folks. We'll see you next week.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Chickadee, chickadee, chick.
Hello, hello. Hey man. Yeah man. Jammin', man. That's just how I check my microphone.
That's how you do the mic check.
All right, stop what you're doing, because I'm about to ruin the image and the style that you used to. I look funny, but yo, I'm making money, see yo, world, I hope you're ready for me and gather round. I'm the new fool in town, and what's he say? My sound's laid down by the underground. I drink up all the Hennessy you got on your shelf, so just let me introduce myself. My name is Humpty, pronounced with an umpty. Yo, ladies, oh, how I like to funk thee. And all the rappers in the top 10, please allow me to bump thee. I fucked up a couple times on the lyrics.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's not
This is
funny.
probably going to go after the end of the podcast. So.
Whatever.